Wowie zowie. Hello, everybody. It is time for the show. Did I do a warm up today? No. Are we going to start anyway? Yes. I need to get into a better habit of that. But it turns out that it's perfect morning routine for a Sunday to spend my morning getting ready for stream. Cause I did compile all my links and stuff today for the show. Cause we're actually doing, wow, it's so weird that, I used to do that for like every show because we had at least some kind of politics stuff every show, and it was helping me keep track of what recordings I would have, like options to pull from. So yeah, it's interesting to be kind of back in that mindset of, oh, we have to actually do a little bit of like, I don't want to say housekeeping, but like you have to take notes and everything, keep track of what's going on. What's up, Kitty? Hello, Mersh. Is it Psycho Pleb Alien? Is that the full name? I'm just gonna call you Alien, I guess. What's up to the YouTube chat as well? There's Nikki, there's Dali, and Fen. Hello, hello. Oh gosh. Oh, Mersh, I'm so sorry. Bummer. Car accidents are never fun. Glad you're okay though. Crazy storm rolled through the last couple of days. Fair amount of flooding. My shop has a bit of water on the floor. That's rough. Yeah, it's been a little bit interesting, the weather lately, and it's so funny to me being so close to the coast. It changes so fast. I have this feeling like it didn't used to change that fast back where I'm from. But I mean, that's just, I think there's just like a sense of perception around that where I just felt like the weather was more predictable because I was used to it probably. Hey, it's Guitar Rocker. Hello. What's up, Skeptoidius? Thanks for hanging out, y'all. As usual, hitting like on the stream is an immediate free, huge benefit. Dude, it came out of nowhere. Yeah. And I've noticed there's been a couple times since I got here that there's been like a kind of something akin to a thunderstorm, and it hails consistently when that happens, which it obviously we had hail back home, but that was not like commonplace because it's like thunderstorms all the time. Yeah, totally. But like whether an individual thunderstorm was going to have hail or not, like definitely less of a guarantee. So it's just interesting getting used to the changes. Even though this today stream is a politics oriented stream, we are going to spend a little bit at the beginning just kind of chilling. We will get into the politics stuff at around noon Pacific time, whatever that translates to for you. We had an inch of hail on the ground yesterday at one point. Holy cow. Man, that we're getting that second winter, I guess, is what the people up here refer to this as when it's rainy for like a week solid. That's like winter conditions. So I'm so looking forward to visiting the beach and finding some tide pools or something. Like I'm enthused about it, but I don't know when it's gonna happen because it's just so bleh right now, the weather. Comparing Cascadia to other places I've lived, says Bean Cream Tween, I'd say the weather here is less predictable, but also less severe. Right. Yeah. Like it changes quickly. It's quite windy. It's like a lot windier here than I was anticipating. And you really feel the effect of the wind because there's all these really huge trees. Like the trees are just, I think on average, we were talking about this. I was talking about it with my partner. I'm like, does it seem like the trees here are taller than the trees back home? And he was like, there were trees back home that were as tall as these trees for sure. And I was like, but I think the average age of trees must be less there because like on average they're shorter. Whereas here there's a ton of like very tall trees. Yes, exactly. That's what I said. It's fucking windy. It is. It's way, way, way windier than I expected. I think that my monitors are maybe a little bit too low for me to be standing, but Isn't there like a specific angle that you're supposed to view a screen from? It's supposed to be like, what is it, like a 15% down? So maybe I am the correct height and it just feels weird. And also that monitor is kind of far away. Maybe if I just brought you closer, it would be okay. I don't know. We have more evergreens over here. Those grow taller. Yeah, I was wondering if it's something about like conifers on average just straight, like just grow taller. I think that conifers are. I'm sorry if you don't like trees, by the way. Sorry. So we just go on nature related tirades and tangents here sometimes. But I also think that conifers, given that they tend to grow more like straight up, don't have as much susceptibility to like losing large limbs and things of this nature. I know you're not in Kansas anymore. What's up, Sophie? Welcome in. Hello, Eric, Kenzie, Jihariel. As usual, we have the YouTube chat, which I do pay attention to, but if you want the increased access to custom emojis and stuff, well, I mean, I guess to be fair, Turtle Bird Me is showing that we have access to fun colors in the YouTube chat as well. It's just a, membership on YouTube if you want to pitch in $5 a month and get some cool, fun, exclusive stuff. That's cool. But I like the website chat, which is this over here. I don't stream on Twitch. This is the website chat, luxander.net/live. If you want to come hang out over here. Thank you for the super chat. From Crunchy Leaves, $6.99 Canadian. Crunchy Leaves says, "Hey Luxander, haven't caught a stream in literally years. Greetings from Canada." Wow. Is it the algorithm has been hiding me from you? That's so interesting. I've been streaming twice a week for a couple years now. When did I start? I started in 22, I think. So all of 22, in all of 23, all of 24. Have I been streaming for 3 years? Did I just, completely miss my 3 years streaming anniversary that would have been in February? I don't think I was paying attention. Did I start? I think it was 22. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look and see, when was the first stream. It was it corresponded with me having a transition in work. I should remember this because I had just moved apartments and also I had just started a new job, or started and then left another job. Boy, howdy. No, I just work a lot, 12-hour shifts. Ooh, that's rough. That's rough. Well, thank you for pitching some of your hard-earned wages. It translates actually to $4.87, but I'm just going to call that a $5 dono. And put it up on the screen. I'm flexible on what we want the stream reward to be today. Oh. Listen, it's my birthday month. So if you haven't yet hit like on this stream, do it for me for my birthday, okay? My birthday's at the end of the month. If you want to contribute in a more material way, then of course donations are welcome. I also have my throne wish list in the description if you're interested in buying something. I'm about to start posting more content on my tertiary channels. And for one of them, I don't have a lavalier mic. So I'm going to basically have to record my garden, just record it and then do a voiceover. So if you're interested in helping me expand the kind of content that I can make in that way of being able to go outdoors and record stuff without garboing up the audio quality, consider pitching in to my lavalier mic on throne.com, which is the secure gift platform. I'm a security guard for national defense. No problem for the money. I mean, shit. Okay, for Canada. I was going to say, boy, if you were in the United States, that would not be the most secure job to have right now. But yeah, in Canada, I bet you have a very secure job. That's awesome. Yeah, sure thing, Max. I know people come and go, it happens. People hang out in this stream for a lot in a short period of time, and then they go away for a while. And it's nice to see people coming back in. chat is so active today. See, this is what I mean. Shakespeare, hello. We were just talking about like people, coming out of the community and coming back in, and it's like I remember you being around a lot, and like you just haven't been around for a bit, and that's okay, and now you're back. Look at that. Murph, thank you. That is very generous. The $50 super chat. Happy birthday. Thank you. Yes. I did technically spend some money on myself for my birthday, which I will share with you in a minute because I'm excited about what I got myself and I want to talk about it. But goodness gracious, that's very generous. Thank you. Hitting us all the way to pretty much halfway through our stream goal already. So what I've been doing is flexing my muscles. I didn't end up working out as much as I wanted to this week because when I started to work out last week, I was like, oh shit, I don't feel good for like 3 days afterwards. And I talked to my partner about it and he was like, yeah, maybe the stress of moving across the country might be like, maybe you should like not ramp up how much you're exercising right after that. I'm like, maybe I need a couple more months to kind of recover. But we could do that, or I could go get my cat and force him to be on camera. We just had a big group of people come in, so hello. Right now we're just kind of chilling as we ramp up toward the politics. We're going to start talking about the politics in about 40 minutes, so if you don't want to hang out, come back in 40 minutes, but hit the like button before you go. Damn. That's a lot. Man, it's crazy too, like dipping away for a period of time and then coming back. It's like people go through a whole lot of life shit. I'm so sorry, Shakespeare. That sounds tumultuous. I'm glad that you're working towards something a little bit more stable, though. That's good. I try to go to the gym 4 times a week. Typically, only went 3 times last week, though. I was going to the gym on a regular basis, but then we started seeing stuff about like, okay, the monkeypox was coming back again, and that spreads primarily through fomites. And I know that people do not clean the stuff at the gym very well. So I'm basically like setting up a home gym situation. So when I want to work out, I'm gonna have. Man, I'm sorry, my hair looks funky today because yesterday was supposed to be wash day and I just didn't get around to it. I feel like my hair looks like shit. Anyway, I'm just setting up a home gym with like resistance bands and stuff and working on body weight exercises and stuff. Yeah, once you own a farm, you don't need to go to the gym anymore. Fair. Got to get fit for hiking. Yes, Eric, that is how I feel. Got to get fit because, I mean, that's what I'm like. I want to go hiking. I want to see beautiful things. I want to breathe the air. I want to see cool animals. I didn't realize that I was going to become a person who likes birds. I mean, I don't like birds, to be clear. I still don't like them. And also now they are full of infectious disease. So I like them even less. But, I go for walks in my neighborhood and I'm like, hey, there's that one bird again. I haven't seen him in a couple weeks or whatever. Like, oh, I managed to identify that bird's species. I've been hanging out in Vosh chat, but I like it better here. I haven't hung out in Vosh chat in a while. It zooms by so fast sometimes, Yes, stay on the trails, go in groups. Yeah, I'm trying to. So my partner is, in the process of trying to get like a job and get hopefully into a new career. Where he's not having to do as much physical labor because he's been like a tradesman. And it's great when you're younger, but when you get into your mid 30s, like getting toward your 40s, then you start thinking about your knees a little bit more, and you could keep doing it, but you could also switch into something else and have more like quality of life later on. So, my partner's trying to get into something a little bit more office-y, maybe. And I'm like, hey, that means that you'll have to be more intentional about exercise, which means you should start coming on walks with me and stuff. So I'm trying to gently coax my partner into being my hiking buddy And that's kind of the idea. That's a good point. Crunchy Leaves, who donated earlier, says that exercise and strength training especially helps dysphoria. Yeah, yeah. If you're a trans guy, you can do like shoulder specific exercises and kind of masculinize your appearance a little bit. You can do back exercises to, increase that Dorito shape where your back muscles kind of pop out. It's a great method of, if feeling good about your body in general, and taking control and feeling a sense of control over what you look like. I think is a good sensation. Feels good to me. I don't like Vosh chat, but I've been spending a lot of time watching Vosh lately too. Honestly, I think Vosh might be one of the only political streamers I know of who hasn't had to take a big break recently. Like Demon Mama has been taking a break from politics. I am not sure whether she's coming back to it. I haven't broached the topic with her. Obviously, she is still doing the podcast with Gayfesh and myself on Gayfesh's channel. We're talking about movies and stuff over there. Excuse me. And I know Hassan is still going strong. Like, Hassan never stops for anything, it seems like. But as far as my kind of corner of the lefty sphere, it seems like everybody has had to take breaks, or like a lot of their stream schedule is getting interrupted by like a sudden need to take the night off kind of thing. Hey! Yes, Gayfesh with the link in the chat. Vosh is too doomer for my mental health these days. Yeah. Ooh, our first Andor episode coming out on Tuesday. Listen, but I will say the episode has been available on your members only YouTube stuff, right? So if you go to youtube.com/@gayfesh, you can also become a member over there and get the episodes like 2 weeks early or something. But for everybody, the first Andor episode comes out on Tuesday, and I still need to finish taking my notes for the episode that we're about to record tomorrow. But I was like, okay, I really need to take notes. I'm like, I really need to like remember everything that I need to say. And it's such a great show, everybody. If you feel politically hopeless right now, watch Star Wars Andor. It genuinely has some great stuff in it. Yes, channel members get the episodes basically as soon as Gayfesh exports them. What kind of shoulder exercises? I feel like I'll never be completely Dorito shaped because I'm so thick. Sure, yeah. So shoulder exercises, if you have dysphoria, so the Dorito shape doesn't really come from the shoulders as much. Like, the shoulders are part of it, but the Dorito shape is typically referring to a latissimus dorsi, your back muscles. So, but for, just generally speaking, trans guys, like shoulders, lateral raises, so like raising up to the sides. You can also do front raises, raising up to the front, in order to make sure your shoulders stay healthy and rounded. Do face pulls, which is like you get the like machine set up where you grab the ropes and it's up tall and you have to pull back toward your face. Actually, you end up in a Superman position like this. Those are face pulls. They help keep your shoulders healthy. Shoulder press, where you start down below your chin and you press upwards. And then latissimus dorsi, you do that by doing rows. So if you start at chest level and you pull something back toward you like that, or the lat pull down, which is like you start with the bar up top and you pull the weight down to below your chin like that. And that's a muscle that's like engages your back muscles. So those are the ways. And there's like a million different variations on those you can do. You can, instead of sitting down and doing a row thing where you pull it toward your chest like that, you could lean over and support your weight with one hand and do just like a pulling motion with one side like that, but that's still getting your back muscles. So this is tips on how to work out with Luxander. Do I need to watch other Star Wars? No, you don't need to watch other Star Wars in order to appreciate and understand Star Wars Andor. I think it completely stands on its own. Certain things fit in context in a way that makes a little bit more sense, I guess, but it totally stands on its own. Like TLDR, the Emperor is bad. TLDR, Empire bad. Fen, who is a big working out fan in the chat, says, yes, it's shoulders for the front capped delt shape. Traps for the bulkier neck shoulder area. Like if you want to have a bulky neck shoulder area, then I don't know what exercises really hit the traps specifically. I know that they get hit when you're doing like overhead press, but I don't know how to like hit them more directly. But then yeah, latissimus dorsi for the Dorito and upper back too, because you want thickness. Wait, I thought that latissimus dorsi was upper back. What do you mean? What do you mean? What is upper back as it differentiates from like a lat pull down? Like what else? I'm so confused. French curls. Fen also confirms the gym is a huge part of their gender experience and probably the reason they don't feel like going on T. Shrugs if you want to do traps. Okay, shrugs. That makes sense. Trapezius. Anywho, I'm not really intending to become an exercise influencer. I feel like that content has to go on the Fansly. Like if I'm gonna start monetizing every portion of my life, okay, here's the plan. So I'm monetizing the politics portion of my life on this channel. I'm gonna try to monetize the gardening survival homestead skills on my One Oasis Left channel. I'm gonna monetize my desire to do literary analysis on my Musing Moss channel. And then I'm gonna monetize my exercising, getting buff, weight changing journey on Fansly. Like, I need like cute clothes that actually fit. I've gained so much weight over the last. I'm not like huge, but I definitely weigh more than I did when I bought all of my clothes. So if I want to do like cute, sexy pictures on Fansly, then I'm like, man, I literally have to buy an entire new bra because I don't have any bras that fit. But yeah, let me just monetize every portion of my life. Lats are lower than other muscles in the back. More like they're bigger and attach lower. But if you look at the anatomy, there are other muscles in the upper back, like a scapula area. Okay, is traps considered upper back then? Okay, I want to share with you guys. There's 50 viewers right now. We're very close to 50 likes. I would love to hit 50 likes. Are we doing feet pics on Fansly now? People have requested it. I could definitely do that. It's the kind of thing that I can probably do even on days where I don't feel particularly sexy or I have to buy new clothes for. I have all kinds of cute socks. Oh, I could do all kinds of cute sock pics on Fansly. But then I don't want to become like a feet-only Fansly account, you know? I don't want to do feet only. Anyway, so I'm gonna sidetrack this stream a little bit, which not that it's not already extremely sidetracked, but I want to talk a little bit about something that I'm doing to relieve some of my stress off of stream. So like not only am I changing my schedule, and I didn't look at politics stuff at all yesterday. I basically did all of my research for today's stream this morning. Of course, I had already like saved some links and I knew some stuff that I was going to be talking about from like this week's catch up is more than just 1 week's catch up, to be fair as well. But like, so not only am I changing my schedule a lot to try to manage how much I'm exposing myself to all this bullshit all the time, but I have been actually having the impulse to do things away from the computer. It's a two things going on. I'm really trying to minimize my time on the computer or on the phone or whatever. I have no social media on my phone anymore except like Instagram. And I don't follow any political shit on my Instagram. So I pulled out this thing of colored pencils that I've had for a really long time. I think it was like my great aunt was dating some guy whose mom died and this was like in her estate and they let me have some of their art supplies. They're watercolor pencils And I didn't really understand what that meant for the longest time. I've basically used them as colored pencils for a while. I'm missing 4 out of this set. So there were 4 additional colors. But, oh yeah, it was like more variation in greens is what I'm missing. And the black one. Anyway, I got these out of my drawer and was like, let me play around with these and figure out what is the watercolor thing going on here. So with these, you can use them as regular colored pencils. You can use them as regular colored pencils and then get the page wet and blend the colors. You can dip these into water. Like you can dip the tip of this into water and then draw on it and then draw a little bit easier. And you can touch a wet brush to the tip of this and then paint with it like a watercolor. So that's really interesting. And it got me feeling like, okay, well, I don't have any watercolor paper. So even if I want to continue experimenting with these, I would probably want to get new paper because I ended up like messing with it a bunch in one of my sketchbooks, but it's just like a regular sketchbook. And it messed with, you know, the page, and I had to like put plastic under it to make sure that it wouldn't bleed through and everything, and it's all ripply and stuff. Now, the watercolor paper that I ended up getting does still warp a little bit, but it is probably cheap paper. But anyway, so given that, there's not a whole lot of color variation in this set. If I wanted to do something like a coloring book that has, like, is an adult coloring book that has a lot of different details in it, because adult coloring books do tend to be like, there's a lot more like tiny things going on. You spend more time on each individual piece. So I was like, okay, what I want is I want a decent colored pencil set, and I want to try actual watercolors. Like basically this hybrid thing of watercolor pencils has made me feel like, okay, I want to try out both of these mediums separately. So I did get a set of colored pencils, and I've been working on my Game of Thrones coloring book that my husband bought me years and years and years and years and years ago. And it feels good to have a more greater variety of color to choose from. And then I also got the watercolors, and I kind of experimented with the watercolors. And another big reason why I'm messing with the watercolors is because I'm trying to figure out how to fill out this blank space, right? I've got this blank space. I know that my bow is going to go up here. Like my bow will come across here, kind of in a straight line. I just need to 3D print a couple of pegs to rest my bow on top of. So I know that. I still don't know exactly what's going to fill out the rest of this shelf, whatever, I'm thinking about it. But this part, I don't want this part of the wall to be blank. Even if you can't see it a lot of the time because I'm standing here, that's fine. I'm not too worried about it. I'm trying to... Can you... I don't know that there's really any good way for me to get it to actually stay where I want it to stay at any given time. Anyway, but yeah, so the area behind me, and I do want to put something over here as well. I think I'm going to put a rabbit skin over here. I'll just like pin a rabbit skin to the wall probably. And I do also want to change the way that the vines are. I'll invest more time in that later. But one of the things that I would like to put back here is a resistance symbol from Star Wars, because I think that it is a statement piece of like stated ideology, even though I may not talk about Star Wars. But, you know, having an eclectic range of things back here where it's like, okay, moth thing, mushroom thing down here, dragon stuff, Five Nights at Freddy's, like witchy vibes with these half moon things, like bottles, you know, it's got like a fantasy vibe. And I want to start increasing the different things that can be represented over here, because I'm going to talk about all kinds of different things on my channel. And I want a resistance thing because it's a way of me saying like, yo, I'm on the side of like the rebellion, right? Which I think fits in this political moment as like a low-key political statement that you could get away with just saying like, oh, I'm a fan of Star Wars. But to me, it's like an overt political statement. But I don't want to buy something because I feel like that's a little bit antithetical to you know, like in the rebellion, they don't have resources, right? They have to steal things, they have to alter Imperial equipment. There's not a whole lot of technological advancement that they are able to do because they're so spread out and everything. Uh, and I feel like a hand painted Rebel Alliance flag is fitting in tone with the overall setting and message. So, what I am kind of ultimately driving toward is that I want to watercolor paint a resistance symbol flag, but probably on a piece of paper that is like this big. And I brought this out just because I wanted to show you my little experiments that I did with watercolor while I was hanging out with my husband yesterday. It's like I started with trying to draw like a sphere, sort of. I don't really know how well this is picking up on camera. I started trying to draw a sphere. And then I just experimented with painting a yellow cross and then letting it dry. And then I painted a red cross over it and let it dry. And then later I came over with just a wet brush and like blended that one line. We're just experimenting. In this one, I just painted a purple heart and let it totally dry. And then I came back with a brush and tried to like smudge the edges out. And that's what ended up happening there. You can see the original heart kind of in there. With this one, I'm just kind of seeing what happens when you overlap stuff, when you let things dry and then paint another circle like overlapping. I don't know, I'm just dicking around. This one, this little square here is like this yellow line went down at the same time as the blue line and they blended, but this yellow line went down after the blue had dried, so you can see the different ways that it overlaps. I decided to draw a little pyramid by various types of blending, starting to get into some detail work where I'm trying out the like little tiny, brush. I'm like trying to draw kanji from memory. I don't remember what the love kanji looks like. That was just from memory. And yeah, this was one of the last things I did. I was experimenting with how to get some leaves on there. These are the ones that I'm like most proud of. Cause I'm like, I don't know. It's just like I'm fucking around with stuff, little sunset thing. And then this is actually supposed to be the 3 pillars of creation. If you are familiar with that celestial body, it kind of looks like the Monster Energy logo, but it's supposed to be space and the 3 pillars of creation. So that was fun. I kind of spent my entire day with my partner yesterday doing colored pencils and watercolors. So, hey, Guitar Rocker, thank you for the $5 dono. What a great time to get a dono. I like the sense that like you guys enjoy the things that I am being a nerd about. So feels good to get donation while I'm talking about something that is nerdy. Okay, come back, chat. I need you. Kanji, do you / have you studied Japanese, or is it a piece from media that you like? I mean, so the love kanji is on Gaara's forehead in Naruto, which is where I originally saw it. But yes, I have at multiple times in my life taught myself Japanese for a few weeks or a few months at a time. So yeah, I'm a weeb. It turns out. Good to know, eh? I'm a weeb. Ooh, Kitty says, last trees comment. It's time to finally take several hundred cuttings from all of these wild willows on my property. I will grow so many fences. I love those fences. I love the living willow fences, and I'm definitely gonna steal some willow whips from you someday. Ooh, hot tip. Kitty says you can draw a picture with the watercolor pencils and then paint over the picture in places with a paintbrush dipped in clean water. Yeah, no, I did that kind of experimentation with the watercolor pencils too. I would like draw something and then go over it with a wet brush to see what kind of blending options there are. I didn't even think about this. I haven't watched any tutorials about how to correctly do watercolors or anything, but Kitty says make sure that you have 3 water cups when you're painting with watercolors. 1 to wash out the color, 1 to rinse the paintbrush fully clean, and 1 to dip the brush in to paint more. Okay, interesting. I'll have to do that. Yes, thank you, Guitar Rocker. That's very, very kind. I'm very impressed. I suck at watercolors, but I might try some of the things you did. I think it would help a lot. So anytime you try something new, I highly recommend just doing a quick little Google of like, I Googled like first time watercolor or something along those lines. And then I read a few articles that had some pictures of like, here are some basic skills you can practice. So like, and you're practicing different things. Sometimes you're practicing your actual brush strokes. Sometimes you're practicing certain blending techniques. But yeah, I would recommend just doing a quick little Google, or I might even later today watch a watercolor tutorial on YouTube and just see like what kind of basic setup are you supposed to have. Dusk says, honestly, don't learn how to do art, quote, properly without fucking around with it first. I think we should try to liberate ourselves from the idea that art has to be good. Like, I'm drawing in a coloring book, you know, and I have a vision in my mind of like a really beautifully rendered image with shading and highlights and like a consistent color temperature and like amazing lighting and perspective on the lighting and the shadows and everything. But that's not my skill level, and that's not a realistic standard to hold myself to. So I'm just like, the one that I'm working on right now, I don't have it with me and I'm not going to run to get it, but it has a lot of flowers in it, like a lot of small flowers. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just going to do the flowers in like a flat color that they are. I am Googling like foxglove and like, okay, I can see that that's the flower that it is. Oh, I can see that those spots have a very particular color. So I'm going to do a color that matches with what the real flower is like. That takes a small amount of the decision fatigue out of the process. I understand why people do color by numbers, because it's like you don't have to think about you don't have to make any decisions. You do have to make decisions when you're coloring and be like, okay, like what color is this? Like, you know, whatever. Anyway, so I'm just not going to expect myself to create a masterpiece. Maybe like the way that I'm doing it right now is I'm ADHD, so I'm just working a little bit on different images in there and like on my coloring book and not really worrying myself about like finishing anything. It may be the case that I finish all these flowers today, and then in 3 months I come back and I do a bunch of shading and color theory application to make the shadows look a particular way, because I know that when you layer a color on top of another color, it does a certain thing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I just don't know what the exact rules are about that, right? But I'm just digging around. I'm not trying to create beautiful art. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not trying to even show anybody. So, you know, when you sit down to do something like art, and like, I know that people are leaving the chat right now, and it's like, I wish that people understood when I'm talking about something like my hobby of getting into art right now, it always is part of a broader thing going on. So it's like with any endeavor, even if you don't connect with the particular thing that I'm talking about, hopefully you can understand that it's a broader thing applying to other skills. Like, you shouldn't treat everything like it's a monetizable skill that you have to develop. Sometimes you need to just dance badly. Sometimes you need to just sing off key. You know, sometimes you need to create art that is just fucking around. Like, I didn't start with the intention to create little tiny art pieces. But again, like, I'm kind of proud of how the sunset turned out. It's weird looking. Definitely, like, I layered on this green in a way that I didn't like that much, but like, it looks cool. And I like the galaxy one too. So it's like, even if you're just fucking around practicing the medium, it's good to just let yourself relax for a bit and just do something. And like, again, coming back to like that, the image that I have in my head of like a beautifully, perfectly shaded piece of art in my coloring book, like who's that for? If I were to endeavor, if I were to push myself to make a fucking perfect drawing or perfect coloring and perfect shading and perfect color theory, like who is that for? Who am I doing that for? Am I gonna like love myself more? Or am I gonna like, I don't know, am I gonna feel substantially different about myself? Who am I proving myself to? It just feels like you're holding yourself to an insane standard if you're like, there's no point in me doing art unless it's quote unquote good. Like just make bad art. I don't know. That, yeah, exactly, Gayfesh. Yes, you have to kill your inner perfectionist to get anything done art-wise. You have to let go of the idea that anything is going to be perfect. And frankly, if you're struggling to do anything because you're so concerned about failing or not doing it quote unquote right, like you need to work on figuring out what it is in your life that is making you feel that way. Because for me, I'm realizing, I'll get to your donation comment in a second. I'm sorry. I'm realizing that like I'm a perfectionist because my mom used to have very high expectations for me, and if I didn't meet them, then I was physically punished. And like, so it created this complex where like I now have to deliberately do things half-assed because I'm like, I need to get it in my head that you can do something half-assed and it's still okay. Now, there's certain things where I still have a pretty high standard on because I'm like, if I'm cleaning the kitchen or something, it's either clean or it's not. Like, or like dishes, for example, like the dishes are either clean or they're not. So there's, I'm not going to put a dish away that I can see still has a little bit of food stuck to it that's been dried on, even if it went through the whole process in the dishwasher or whatever. Like that's just like a standard that I have. And, I think that's fair. But maybe that is still something in me of like it because it was so often cleaning stuff that my mom had that crazy high standard for me. But in other areas of my life, I'm trying to accept that we're going to be imperfect and just kind of like don't spend forever and ever and ever editing the thing. Write a poem and then publish it. And like I do that sometimes on my Patreon. Like if I just spontaneously feel the urge to write a poem, I'll just publish it on Patreon. It goes through a very short editing process. Ooh, Shakespeare says, I organize all kinds of dance. I founded a nonprofit troupe. I currently organize queer raves. Later this year, going to help organize a community trans prom. When we dance, we heal. That's so amazing. That's cool. I think that the idea of trans prom is very cool. I've done adult prom before because they do it at Skepticon, which is a con that I used to go to. But I haven't been to one in a few years, and I've never been to a queer specific one. Although there is a ton of queer people at Skepticon, and they're welcome there. So it's kind of like a queer prom where straight people are allowed to be. It's kind of what that was like. I have got coffee. It's delicious. Kitty Tick earlier said 99% of art is exercise, preparing you to make the 1% people will actually ever see of your output. Part of why we starve, because that shit is expensive. Yeah, art supplies, not cheap. I managed to get some stuff on clearance, basically, but it was expensive. So having getting just student quality art supplies seems quite expensive. And I'm like, I need to get a special pencil sharpener that maintains the original angle of my colored pencils, because all of like the regular pencil sharpeners that you have around your house are for, um, they're for like regular number 2 pencils, where they give you like the, yeah, like all of my pencil sharpeners do this, and that's not good for colored pencils because you end up wasting a lot of the colored pencil. But this is how my colored pencils originally came, and I need a pencil sharpener that does that, or I have to hold it at a weird angle while I'm sharpening my pencils. But yes, Kitty also recommends practicing only in black and white because those are some of the cheapest colors of paint, and they will also teach you the most about color mixing and blending of shadows. Later, you can paint over the ones you like in color. Also pointing out that art is politics, and they want to suppress art because it is able to speak in ways that other media cannot. That's a good point. I had that idea too of doing a black and white Bob Ross painting tutorial thing, like follow along a Bob Ross video. Because then I would just have to buy one canvas. I guess technically I don't have an easel, but I don't need one specifically. I could probably just prop it up somewhere. But I would just need a canvas. I already have some brushes. Maybe I could get like a cheap brush set with more variety in it, whatever. And then you would just need a tube of black and white, like a tube of black and a tube of white. And that's a cheap way to do a Bob Ross painting. And I would still love to do that, I think it's a fun concept. Sounds like it would be relaxing as well. Excuse me. Yeah. I do think trans prom kind of thing is really important for people who didn't have the opportunity to go to prom as themselves or go to prom at all in high school. So, yeah. I guess I think I went to my friend's prom for their high school. I did not go to my own prom. Wow, so I just unearthed some memories that I had completely forgotten. At one point, I was looking at stretching my own canvases because they were so expensive. Yeah. I mean, if you're just going to do it once, I feel like it's the kind of thing you could splurge for on a birthday. But again, not everybody has money to splurge on birthdays. Best pencil sharpeners around are eyeliner sharpeners. Yeah, I know that I have a pencil sharpener that would work better. I just don't know where my makeup is. I thought that I knew where my makeup was, and apparently it's not where I thought it was. All of my makeup. I'm like, I don't know where it is. All my brushes, all like my fake nails. I don't know where any of it are. Look into painting on boards. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really looking into getting into painting large. Like, I got a watercolor set that I didn't even get a full watercolor notebook on its own. I just got a watercolor set that came with a book that had like maybe 15 pages. And this is how big the pages are. So this is kind of where my mind is on how big am I going to go with my watercolor art. I'm sticking with this for now. And then if I do a Bob Ross, I'll get like a... Oh, that's interesting. Kitty, are you basically saying like buy a used painting at Goodwill or a thrift shop and paint over it? Like, I just like put a white wash over it and then start over? That's kind of funny. Cheap canvas free frame, I suppose. Yeah, exactly. Like in the 80s, some queer people could not go to prom because like the teachers explicitly said not to. Sucks ass. Yes, Mosh on Toast. You can do it. Explore your artistic desires. We're going to start transitioning into the politics pretty soon here. I know when people click in, they see the politics and then they see the politics in the title and then they hear me talking about stupid nonsense that doesn't matter. Sometimes it turns people off a little bit, but we will get into the politics. And just for like us talking about it here, oh, did I add that to my stuff, McBride? Yes, okay, I did do that. Okay, so basically, broadly speaking, I have 6 topics for today's stream. I'm hoping in the future that there are fewer things that I feel the need to talk about. Although, to be fair, this is half and half split. 3 bad things and 3 good things, which that's part. I'm like, I don't know how to pare this down anymore because I feel like we should talk about the good things in an attempt to offset all the bad things that we're constantly hearing about elsewhere. I don't have an action item yet. So I just want to tell you guys, here's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about Texas felony fraud and Texas voiding gender markers. That's one story. Gavin Newsom, second story. Probably not going to go in huge depth on this, but we're going to talk about cis woman confronted in Arizona bathroom because she looked like a man, allegedly, blah, 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 whatever. Male police officers in the women's bathroom confronting a female woman for being in the female woman bathroom. Like, you know, good stuff. Those are my 3 bad stories. And I want to do them in that order. And then I have 3 good things, or like 3 good topics generally. Sometimes I will reference more than one article in a given segment, but executive order trans ban blocked nationwide, plus new European guidelines slamming the CAS review. Additional story addressing Sarah McBride and the fact that she was misgendered by a Republican colleague and subsequent commentary and everything, talking about Sarah McBride. And then the 6th one that we're going to talk about is, it's like 3 different things kind of in one. Wisconsin Bill 101, anti-trans bill, a commenter at the town hall. We want to talk about that commenter's response, and Zoe Zephyr and S.J. Howell flipping the Montana anti-trans vote. So those are kind of 3 feel-good things, like, you know, showing up to these things actually does change hearts and minds kind of thing. So we have a positive message overall at the end of the show, or at the end of the stream segment. So the plan is we're going to talk about all of those things. I actually should bring this over here. We're going to talk about all of those things in a chunk where we flow from one topic to the next. And that is going to be like the recording that we do that I will then edit and upload like tomorrow. Yeah, trans? Crazy. Yes, always good to see the cast review being publicly put to task. Absolutely. So the only thing that I really have left here is that I need at least one action item at the end. So maybe because of the nature of the topic that I'm going to end on, I guess my call to action will be show up at a town hall, or, man, can I even suggest that people show up at an in-person protest, like with the risk of them getting arrested and like the risk of it being considered an illegal protest? I mean, we can't stop protesting just because we might get arrested. So my first call to action is going to be show up at a town hall or protest, like, or in-person peaceful protest. Because the message that I'm going to end on here is basically like, we are changing people's minds and changing the political landscape by showing up in person and putting ourselves out there. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Innabox. I'm so sorry. I got so distracted by what I was talking about. And why did it like automatically dismissed your dono thing earlier, even though I didn't click the little X that made it go away? It normally stays up there until I dismiss it. That's bullshit. Okay, hold on. Now I gotta find it. Now I gotta go find it. It was a $50 dono from In a Box. Why? Why are you like this? I hate you so much. My website is just being such a bitch for no reason. There has to be, like, a thing back here where I can see all of my donations. You know what? I guess we're just... Like, does it even... I don't know. Hold on. I know it was a $50 dono. It was on PayPal. It came through on PayPal. But I don't know if the message comes through on PayPal either. I'm going to find out while I'm still looking at this on over here. $50 donation. I'm trying. It said happy birthday. Don't worry about it. Okay, is that all it said? Was just happy birthday? Okay, yes. Indeed, happy birthday. Thank you. It is my birthday month. And that brings our total up to $110 for today. Which means we hit the stream goal. Thank you. That's very nice. Do we want me to flex or do we want me to go get the cat? What do we want? What do we want for today? I'll set a stretch goal as well later. What is being 30? I got even fatter. You put on weight in your 30s, it turns out. Do we even have any preference on what the stream? A little bit of both? We want flexing and me going to get the cat? Alright, I know, he's a good boy. Ugh. So, I wasn't able to work out as much as I wanted to this week, but I still did a little bit of shoulders work, so... That's the thing that we're keeping track of right now is, like, can I get my shoulders to look bigger? Sophie, welcome to the website chat just in time for the gun show. Thank you for coming over. Doesn't the fascist regime consider protesting as domestic terrorism now? Well, they were specifically saying that they... Like, I just have a little bit too much fat on the back of my arm to really see how buff my triceps are. Believe me when I say they're fucking buff. Oh, you can see them. Ooh, okay. Anyway, flex with the cat in hand. So specifically they were saying it is colleges. I think Trump specifically called out colleges as having the, like, as being the locus of illegal protests. So I think that generally speaking, other forms of protest are legal. Still, I don't know. But the thing is, like, even if it's declared illegal, you have to keep going. Like, you have to do it anyway. You have to be willing, and I'm not saying you personally, I'm saying someone in general, some number of us in general have to be willing to get arrested for things that should not be illegal. You know, it's like the whole, it's the whole fucking Rosa Parks thing. Like, sometimes you have to get arrested for doing something totally harmless that has been declared illegal in order to call attention to the fact that the thing is happening. You know, so like, oh my God, I can't believe they arrested that old lady. She was just sitting on a bus. She just was tired, right? That's the kind of story that you want to tell in order to point out how ridiculous the fascism is. And that requires you to do stuff that could get you arrested. Like, it requires some portion of the resistance to do that specific thing, you know? So I'm not saying any person has to do that individually, but like that we need some number of individuals to do that, hopefully in an organized manner. So, boom, I'll go get the cat. I'll come back. I mean, where is he? I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. I'll be back. have brought the boy. He was sleeping. Mwah. Yes, thank you. Are you a good boy? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Pretty baby. Thank you. Yeah? You're an old man. Look at you with your white whiskers. Mlem. Yeah, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I like that this is his response. He's like not mad at me. He's just like, okay, if I keep smushing my face against your face, eventually you'll put me down. He knows how this works. Okay, you ready? Okay, bye-bye. He's a good boy. Yeah, the little cat shake. The, like, shaking their ears. He's a good boy. I should not shake my head like that. Wow, I'm a little bit hungover, if we're being completely honest. Yesterday was, you know, I'm not gonna, do any shilling for any particular brand, but there's a brand of 12-ounce canned, fruit-flavored, 8% alcohol by volume. And it definitely was a fun night. We started watching Invincible from the beginning, and it was good. Anyway, let's get into the news part of the news. I do want this. I have to start doing I have to start selling my gear again. Like, I have to start shilling my merch again now that I'm not gonna pivot anything about this channel. I can be like, hey, by the way, if you want to support the channel, LMAO at the anti-shilling. I'm kind of against shilling a little bit, but trans communities across the nation are organizing in all kinds of ways. The Twin Cities have been very incredible. Nice. So I will also say, just because I'm doing a segment here doesn't mean that I will not still be responding to you guys and talking to you. So even if we sit here and we officially go like, okay, boom, boom, this is us recording. So in a way, I'm kind of speaking to the future YouTube audience who are going to see the video. That doesn't mean that we are not still having a conversation here as well. So, if you have comments, if you have stuff to say to help flesh out or ask questions or whatever, that's still welcome. Oh, we're so close to 69 likes. Can we get to 69 likes before we even start talking about the politics? That would be fire. That would be lit, as the kids say. My hair is not going to cooperate, I think. It's pretty much just going to look like yesterday was wash day and I didn't wash it this entire stream. I don't think there's anything I can do about that. It always looks better on this side anyway. Hey, Speedy Shimeji tagged number 69. Nice. Good going. Yeah. Funny like number, exactly. And for those of you who are just joining, don't forget that YouTube chat is a thing, but this is my website chat. I don't dual stream to Twitch yet. I don't know. I'm still considering whether I should do that or not. But anyway, get myself kind of put together here. Okay. Shakespeare says, I've been learning to become a promoter. Learning to properly shill is important. You need to commodify a little bit or you end up living in a car. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm gradually commodifying more and more aspects of my life to continue making money and stuff, Like, I guess that's what entrepreneurial spirit is like. I do think, Moshan Toast, that as a person in the UK, offering an event space for your friends who are trans in America is not a bad idea. For sure. Okay, well. Okay, my call to action is show up at a town hall or in-person peaceful protest. And I think my second call to action is... Nope, that's not what I wanted. And or. I think the suggestion that I'm trying to make, and I don't know how to word it exactly, is like, pick one day this week to limit your use of one social media platform. Like, instead of having like a 0 social media day, just pick one platform and just don't go on that one platform that one day. That's kind of what I'm trying to think. Okay, one social media blackout for one day. Excuse me. Okay, cool. Are you back? You're so not mad at me that you came back? Hi. Hi, baby. Hello. Okay, he's a weirdo. Hi. Yeah, do you want me to pick you up again? He didn't say anything. Am I going to take his no as consent? Or sorry, his lack of response as a consent? No? You just want to sit there in your spot? Okay, I'll allow it. Maybe I'll pull him out at the end of the segment. He definitely doesn't want food. He just wanted to lay down in his little special spot. He's got a special little spot right next to me that he likes to hang out in. But that's a great idea. I'll pull him out at the end. I don't know how long this segment is going to actually be. We'll find out. Okay. Ooh, before we start, Kitty says, cursed. I just read a sentence that I hate, so I am gifting it to all of you. Marty McFly went to 1955 from 1985. That would be like traveling back to 1995 from today. Oof, that's true. I am turning 31 this year. Okay. Hi there, my name's Luxander. This is a trans politics show. I talk about these things on my stream, which then gets recorded and it goes to the channel. If you've been here in the past, you will know that typically what I've done in the past is we record multiple different videos and they go out throughout the week. But we're trying something new. To minimize the amount of time we all have to spend thinking about this throughout the week, for the sake of our mental health, for the sake of balance in our lives, we've decided to switch to doing a once-a-week video. So you will see that this video is longer than some other ones on this channel. And it may be that that's not the best thing for the algorithm, but we're not optimizing for the algorithm. We are optimizing for staying informed of the most important issues, and I am going to focus on trans-related issues. We are going to start with our most important trans-related topics today, partially because this video is catching up on a couple weeks worth of commentary and things. We are going to start this as a weekly thing, though, so next week, hopefully we will have fewer specifically anti-trans stories or trans-related stories, and we will be able to look at some other things happening, because obviously there are other things happening with this administration. We have, obviously, anti-immigration things happening, just all kinds of stuff. But today we're going to focus on anti-trans news. I have 6 items. 3 of them are challenging news. 3 of them are good news. And there will be chapters laid out below when this YouTube goes up on when this video goes up on YouTube, so that everybody can skip to whichever segments they would like. And we will have a call to action segment at the end. So stick around for that. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed or a little hopeless, we will have some recommendations for you. So today I would like to start talking about Texas. So Texas has had a couple things going on, and let me get this ready. Texas has a tendency to propose legislation that then doesn't pass. But then they have been using executive overreach, in my opinion, to accomplish those things passing anyway, essentially. So when they attempted to pass an anti-trans kid healthcare legislation, it failed. And then instead, they just changed the definition of child abuse through an executive process to include transition-related care. And now suddenly a bunch of parents are being investigated for child abuse for simply providing their kids with the appropriate medical care. So this is something we've been kind of keeping track of in Texas for a while. Okay, my stream YouTube page goofed up a little bit, but it looks like everything is still running okay. Looks like we're still here. Okay. So this is a bill that is unlikely to pass that I wanted to discuss with you. New Texas bill criminalizes being trans as felony fraud. Much of our news comes from Erin Reed because she and her team at Erin in the Morning have been covering a lot of these things. So that's going to be a source that we often go to. But keep in mind, everybody, that links will be in the description. Anything that I talk about on here, I will provide additional reading for you so that you can dive in a little bit deeper, since I am probably not going to spend as much time diving really deep into each topic. Some of them will basically just be honorable mentions. But this one, we're going to go in a little bit deeper. So basically, the process has previously been that you can change your legal gender marker through some process, whether that's by going to a court and asking a judge to please let you change it. And the reason why there's an official legal process is to prevent fraud. In Kansas, when I changed my sex marker, I had to have my doctor print out an official letter that says this person has physically changed their sex, so they're allowed to change their gender marker now. And then I was able to change it. Again, I had to send documentation to the Department of Revenue, and they had to confirm that I was allowed to change that on my driver's license. So all of these things exist to prevent fraud. Fraud, specifically, is you have to lie about something with intent to get something that you wouldn't otherwise, to defraud someone. So let's say you pretend, I don't even know what's a good example of this. Like you use a different name when you're applying for a loan, and that's fraudulent because maybe you're using a different name because you have bad credit. So that's obvious fraud. But it doesn't typically apply to something like I changed my name legally and a judge signed off on the court order, and that means that I'm allowed to use that name. That I went through a process. There's an official legal record of my change, so that is not fraud. I am the assumption there is that you have been honest with your statement of I'm changing my name because I don't want to be called Junior anymore by my dad or whatever. Like you have an honest reason for doing it, and then the court says, I agree that you're allowed to do that. It's pretty atypical. Like it's pretty abnormal for a change like this to happen where they're proposing this. Tom Oliverson is the name of the Republican legislator. And obviously this law is not likely to pass. Like this one is not likely to get the appropriate support in order to really pass and become law. That doesn't mean that they won't just rewrite the definition of fraud somewhere else to include trans people, whatever, because they tend to not stop just because one of their attempts fails. It's called shotgunning, where they just spray a bunch of different, very similar legislation in the hopes that one of them will eventually pass. So I'm not sure. I haven't seen any others like this specifically, but obviously this is uniquely targeting trans people, and it would be classifying it as felony fraud. Even if it's illegal for a trans person to change their sex marker now, which it is currently illegal in Texas to change your gender marker, and presumably if you were to if you needed to get a new birth certificate and you had previously changed it, they will probably change the gender marker back to what it was originally. But it's not like my license is illegal currently, because that's the same in Kansas. Like if I had stayed in Kansas and I went to renew my driver's license in a couple years, they would have reverted it back to what I was given at birth instead of what it currently says. But that doesn't mean that my current driver's license is illegal or counts as fraud if I present that to a police officer or something. Because it was legal for me to change it back when I changed it. In the same way that when California, I don't know how old my audience is now, but back in the day, California made gay marriage legal and a bunch of people got married immediately. They just went to the courthouse and they got married. And then Proposition 8 came and that took away the right for gay people to get married. But the people who got married during that brief period of time were still married. Like they didn't annul those marriages. Those were legally binding marriages during the period of time in which it was legal. It's called being grandfathered in when a previous law, we still accept that people did something through the legal process, even if they can't do it now. So it's unique to target trans people specifically to say your legal gender change that you did through a legal process is now felony fraud. This is pretty egregious. And it concerns me because I don't think that this type of thing is going to stop here. We've already saw in the lead up to this that there is now a travel ban, basically, where if you have changed your legal gender marker in your country, like say you're visiting from Britain, you went through the arduous process in Britain to change your legal sex. Let's say you even have a gender recognition certificate, which many people don't even have that when they change their passport gender marker. But if you were from the UK and you were visiting the United States, they could consider that you are committing fraud and we will permanently ban you from ever having a visa to the United States. So this is kind of my way of saying they will probably not stop with just one attempt at doing this. They are starting to implicate the concept of fraud regarding trans people who have changed their gender marker. They're expanding that concept into more and more areas of life. So I think that this is important for us to take note of, because if you live in Texas or any state that is similar to that, if you haven't already started making plans to leave, it may be wise to accelerate those plans, because they are trying to turn trans people's legal existence into a felony. And that is what leads to overfull prisons. Like if you start targeting more and more people and make more and more things illegal, then you end up with overly full prisons, which then spill over and they start building temporary encampments. And that is kind of what we're worried about. I know that people get really silly about, oh, you guys are being dramatic, but they are criminalizing things that are normal about trans people. We know that conditions in prisons are difficult, from difficult all the way to straight up inhumane in this country. And we know that if the prisons get full, they will not stop imprisoning people. They will just come up with new places to put them. So this is of concern, and that's why I'm bringing it to your attention. I also just wanted to say, while we're on the topic, that Texas Attorney General Paxton has also declared previous court orders void regarding gender markers. So this is basically saying now that not only will your gender marker be changed back when you go to get your driver's license again, like if you need a renewed one, but I think that this is now saying that current gender markers and driver's licenses with this change on them are null and void. I think is effectively what this does. Yeah. Any court order granting gender marker changes on Texas birth certificates or driver's licenses are null and void, which, yes, he also continues, all previously amended documents must be immediately corrected. And, he's coming up with all these reasons. He's, saying like, whatever, the judicial power, they don't have the power to do it. They don't have the power to change this. The Texas court lacks statutory authority to change gender markers, and the executive holds sovereign immunity over such matters. And, this is just obviously bullshit. And there's like almost not much to add here, but this is another reason why I would say to be concerned if you are in Texas is that it may be the case that if you get pulled over, like let's say you're driving with your amended driver's license, that could be considered driving without a valid license. And that is bad, obviously. So I don't want you to get too doom and gloom. We're going to cover 3 challenging topics, and then we will move into more positive topics. So just keeping in mind, if you need to skip past the bad stuff to the good stuff, there will be stuff, again, chaptered down below. Yeah, I agree, Shakespeare. I think one of the things that is most surprising is that I did not expect that this type of documentation process would impact our safety this much. Like, it never occurred to me that when I changed my legal sex marker, which I was changing because I wanted to feel safe that my license matched my physical appearance. And at the time, I looked a certain way and I wanted to have that reflected on my license. And I felt that that was an accurate representation. And the idea that my name is now like on a list of undesirable people, because the Attorney General Chris Kobach in Kansas has a list of people who've made those changes before. Like, I'd never realized that would be so dangerous to me. And that, yeah, like, to have you legally changed your gender marker, most of us, so that we can feel safe in public. Like, if we get carded, we don't want someone to say, oh, you've stolen someone else's ID, or you're using a fake ID. And then you've got the police involved because your gender marker doesn't match your appearance, or like you get pulled over or something and you get discriminated against because you're trans, and they can tell. Oh my God, excuse me. I'm so sorry. The hiccups. Yeah, I'm sure for some people there's an inkling like this could be used against me in the future. Yeah. Like, when I most recently got a driver's license, I live in a state where you can just self-declare and you can put whatever you want down. And I put it to match my birth certificate because I'm like, I want to be able to get a passport later if I need one. I want to feel safe that, like, if I get pulled over, because I know that I look feminine now, I'm just like, whatever. If I get pulled over, I just want this to be, I want it to match in a way that is not going to have a problem. Even though I don't feel that that's an accurate representation, I also feel like it is like the safer option and it's accurate enough. And according to the powers that be, I am what I was born anyway. So I am being legally honest according to the fascists. So I just, this is the kind of thing that you end up concerned about. If you watching this right now are not trans, this is the calculation that trans people are having to have, where we're saying you can't travel to the United States. You have to be careful even traveling within the United States. You have to be careful if you're leaving the United States and coming back because you're not sure what's going to happen with that. Like, I would like to say that you don't have to be worried if you're a sovereign citizen, or like if you were born here or whatever. Like, I don't have a confidence that we are all going to be okay. But that's why we're going to have action items. That's why we're going to continue fighting. I'm not going to give up just because I feel concerned. I did move from a red state to a blue state, but I am not willing to leave the country. But many people are making that calculation. I know a family in Texas who is moving to France. I know a couple of people in Texas who are thinking about moving to Illinois. I know people in Kansas who really wish that they could move and who can't. For every person who flees, there are probably 5 or 10 more who can't leave. And that's why I want to still be at least close enough that I can help people get to a safer place within the country. Thank you, by the way, everybody who donated to my GoFundMe. Relocating across the country was the most immense and life-changing thing I have ever done. And I am still recovering from that actively. And I will never stop being grateful that I was able to do that with a combination of, saving and smart decisions on my part, but also a huge amount of support from the community. So just thank you. And please continue to support other trans people, especially like people of color and especially people who are otherwise marginalized, because things are tough out there. I guess that's your first action item is if you have the means, support trans people trying to relocate to safer places. Yeah, it's like super. It's not uncommon for. It's like Gayfesh and Shakespeare are both like if you. I felt like if I got X, then I would get. If I got pulled over, it would be a problem. Or like, yeah, 10 years later, choosing not to get X even though you could, and like now, the binary sex designation is also a problem. Ty Turner was going to visit his nephew, but now he can't because he's afraid of the passport situation. Yeah, that sucks. Like, to be like, I can't even visit home. I don't personally feel like I can't even visit home, but that's because I know that I think that socially speaking and according to the fascists, they probably just look at me as like a delusional female, and I am fine with that. I don't care. Like, I mostly use like the bathroom that matches my appearance on a given day, and most of the time you can see that I have tits, so I go use the female restroom. Like, I just don't care, and I feel like I would be safe enough, but I completely understand that feeling of like I don't know if I can return because I don't know what's going to happen if I go back there. I don't want to visit a state where I don't feel like I can use the bathroom, or I don't want to visit a state where I'm concerned that if I get pulled over, I'll get arrested and thrown in the wrong gender prison. Okay, coffee break before we move on to the next segment. Mm. I've been doing 2 scoops of decaf and 1 scoop of, or sorry, yeah, 2 scoops of decaf and 1 scoop of regular calf coffee. It's a good blend of like, okay, I'm getting the coffee flavor, but not as much of the like forceful, constant need to pee. So it's good. Mm. Our second big news item today is about Gavin Newsom, who I was originally not really planning to discuss, but I think that it is necessary because it fits into this broader picture of many of us wondering what's going to happen with the future of the Democratic Party. Trans people being thrown under the bus, trans people, distancing themselves from the trans community in this past election, the pushing of Kamala Harris and this whole I'm basically just like Biden. I'm not going to push anything left. I'm not going to push any previously held progressive positions. I'm going to abdicate from like that. That is the state of the Democratic Party right now. Many of us are feeling very frustrated with how the election went because it seems as though the Harris campaign was determined to lose. Like she could have very easily just said, I support a Medicare for all. I support a ceasefire. Like there are so many things that she could have done to differentiate herself from Joe Biden, as many of the people in the Democratic base were getting tired of Biden's shit. Yes, he did accomplish some good things. I'm not saying it was all bad, but I'm saying that many of us felt very frustrated that after the Trump presidency, we did not have a strong pull back toward the left side of the Overton window. So the normalization of being dragged further to the right as a country. So we're talking about Gavin Newsom and drawing this back to trans issues because many Democrats have been saying, many like establishment Democrats have been saying that talking about trans people and refusing to cede ground on trans rights on things like sports, for example, is a losing position for Democrats, right? Even though we've seen that Republicans perform worse when they focus on the trans issue. Many Republican voters even are tired of hearing about the trans issue. And in my humble opinion, it was the abandonment of these progressive causes that lost the Democrats this past election, among other things. Cozying up to the right on economic policy, on climate, on social issues like trans people. It seems clear that the Democratic Party is in a sharp decline, and Gavin Newsom is helping us cement in that concept. Gavin is the governor of California, if you didn't know, and typically he has been trusted to be like on the side of trans people, right? He recently launched a podcast, and on his very first episode, for some fucking reason, decided to bring on Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is a right winger. Like I like, how do you describe Charlie Kirk? Like, what do we? If somebody doesn't know who Charlie Kirk is, how do I describe this person? Like, he's a giant forehead, obnoxious person who is one of the right wing talking heads who constantly talks about annoying bullshit social issues like making up stuff about trans people. And that is the person who, like, why you would bring on someone like Charlie Kirk as the governor of California. Yeah, many people are of the opinion that Kirk is a neo-Nazi, right? So like, as the governor, the Democratic governor of California, which is considered like the liberal bastion in this country, I don't know. I really couldn't possibly tell you what the thought process was behind this decision, but it was not smart. Yeah, basically Charlie Kirk is a well-known anti-trans bigot, understood to be a liar and a grifter by many people. So this was Newsom's first guest, and it's like ostensibly Newsom was trying to evoke, like, trying to provide a place for like the opposite side can critique me, and I want to not be stuck in my bubble or whatever. I don't really understand, but and I don't want to listen to it. Basically, I just want to discuss the text of this because Charlie Kirk starts talking about trans athletes. This is the issue. This is like one of the fringe issues that they're pushing that only affects like a maximum of maybe 5 trans athletes in a given state on average. A law passed in Utah restricting trans access to sports in high school and stuff. And there was only one transgender athlete in high school in the whole state. So, who are you really helping by focusing on these fringe issues that only impact a few people? Well, you accomplish like a full government takeover, it turns out. But yeah, Charlie Kirk references a trans athlete, and Newsom says, right, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It's deeply unfair. And then saying, boy, did I see how you guys were able to weaponize that issue. And then Kirk pushes back, insisting that it was not weaponizing. And then Newsom corrects himself and says, you highlighted this issue. Like, sir, yes, they have weaponized a fringe issue to attack a minority group who is not granted an unfair advantage. I don't have a link pulled up right this second. I suppose I will need to pull up a link for the purposes of this conversation so that I can put it in the description. Let me find it. We discussed this when it first came out, but there was a recent article that, or I guess this is an article from last year that just happened to resurface on my timeline recently. But IOC, which is an Olympic committee, they funded a study observing like the strength, power, and aerobic capacity of trans athletes, and the consensus, and granted it was a fairly small pool of people, 23 trans women, 12 trans men, 21 cisgender women, and 19 cis men undergoing cardiovascular tests and etc. So trans women performed worse than cis women on several metrics, including cardiovascular strength and lower body strength. And basically this confirms that there is not an unfair advantage. So first of all, there's no advantage, and you would have to additionally prove that it's an unfair advantage because there's, of course, a natural variation in human sports capability, whatever. I don't want to go into the whole sports issue right now. I literally could make an entire proper video essay going over all of the data and all of the arguments showing that trans people do not have an unfair advantage. If you don't believe me, listen to the International Olympic Committee. That's what the IOC is, who commissioned this study. Now, you can say that you'd like to see the data, and I encourage you to go look at it, but that's the situation. So not only are we capitulating, like the Democrats are capitulating on a thing where it is incorrect to say that there is an unfair advantage, we are capitulating on a factual issue, which is so frustrating to me because all these people keep saying like, oh, facts over feelings. Well, guess what? The fact is that there's not an advantage. That's the fact. And you insisting on this feeling like, oh my God, men are inherently superior in sports and therefore trans women are the same as men and therefore they are the same kind of superior. Like so many different things I could say about that. I don't want to get too far into it because I want to focus mostly on the fact that this is the future of the Democratic Party. Gavin Newsom buddying up with Charlie Kirk. First episode of his podcast, which also, why are you launching a podcast? It's because he wants to run for president. Like, you have a job, sir, called being the fucking governor of a state in the United States that has a GDP larger than many other countries on the planet. You have a job, sir, and it seems like you're playing some kind of silly game if you're a governor of a state and you start a podcast. But this is because this is how you win political points now if you are a right-winger. You start a podcast and you start influencing people. Like, you start inserting propaganda and misinformation and creating a cult of personality around yourself. This is how right-wingers have usurped our political process, basically. So to see Gavin Newsom doing this and to see that he brought on Charlie Kirk of all people on the first episode is, I mean, it's deeply embarrassing to start with, but also this is a hostile move that I think all progressives and liberals and leftists should see as a hostile move from Gavin Newsom, who wants to be president of the United States. It has also come to light, according to some senior officials in Gavin Newsom's administration, that those senior officials have been discouraging Democrats from introducing trans rights legislation in the weeks leading up to the governor publicly splitting with his party on trans athletes, referencing the previous article. Again, all of these Aaron in the Morn articles and whatever else I cite will be available to click through in the links in the description if you want to read those fully, and I encourage you to do so. You're here for my commentary, not for the raw article. But yeah, basically, Gavin Newsom's executive administration has been discouraging House and Senate Democrats in the state of California from introducing pro-trans legislation, presumably so that he could say that he's anti-trans and not have a very recent record of having signed any of these laws into effect. So Yeah, I'm bringing this up because the future of the Democratic Party, like many people consider Newsom to be like one of the top options. Yeah, Aaron notes Newsom is widely regarded as a front runner for the presidential nomination in 2028. And I would like to talk to my co-host on Transatlantic Collins show, Josie Caballero, because she works in DC and she probably has a good concept of this. But like, it's Newsom. I've seen some intimations that Pete Buttigieg might try to run. Some people have been talking about the idea of Tim Walz running, which I personally would be in favor of. But I think what we're going to get is someone who is even further to the right than Kamala Harris, or at least as to the right as she is. Like, you know, when when asked about the I can't even remember what the question was, but she, during the debate with her and Trump, she said that she wanted to expand domestic oil production, and she's interested in financing fracking more. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That like that we need to be on track for zero emissions. That's insane. So anyway, I think that this is the future of the Democratic Party, unfortunately. And the thing to do in response to this, I guess I have more than one action item today. I'm just going to have an action item after every thing, apparently. But we need to start supporting more local elections. There are a ton of trans people who are trying to run for local elections. Zoe Zephyr has, if you don't know who she is, she's a trans representative in the state of Montana. And she's a member of the House of Representatives in Montana. And she is offering some consultation for people who want to learn about how to run for local office. So we need to start supporting more change on the local level, as well as pressuring these people, because otherwise, like, they're going to drag the Democratic Party further and further to the right. They're going to alienate trans people during a time when we need public support for trans people, because these policies are hurting people already. The policies that we discussed, like trans people's existence is being criminalized, and it's hurting people. It's hurting more than just trans people too, which we will discuss in a moment. Like this, we need to push back very dramatically against this. So you need to get involved locally and support politicians, school board members, and stuff in your local community that will be in a position to then put pressure higher up on the ladder. Yeah, we're going to discuss Zoe Zephyr later in this segment, later in this video, later in the stream. Yeah, damn. You're saying that Dems should actually stand for something and not just capitulate or keep trying to find a middle ground with fascists? Man, if only that hasn't been the story of Dems for our entire lifetimes. Yeah, I'm like not holding out hope that the Democratic Party is going to acknowledge their very obvious failures in this. Like, it's so obvious that pulling away from support of trans people, pulling away from diversity initiatives and stuff like that is not going to help. When you try to assuage a fascist, when you try to give them some of what they want, they will then take more from you. You can't cede any ground. You can give them nothing. You can't concede trans athletes. You can't concede the bathroom issue. You can't concede, like, oh, maybe some abortion should be illegal and some other abortion shouldn't be illegal. Like, you can't give them anything because they will never stop. They will never stop taking. And I don't know how else to hammer that in for people, that there's no amount of putting your head down and just trying to not be noticed that is going to work for you. They are coming for you. And that's the problem. It's like, we just want to live peacefully. We just want to go do our own thing, but they will still come into our lives and disrupt our lives unless we forcefully stop that from happening. Yes, and we will be discussing Sarah McBride today as well. Big shout out to Representative Lee Finca out of Minneapolis. She has been amazing to our community. Electing trans officials makes a powerful difference. Yes, and we will discuss that further in this video as well. What kind of difference can it make when trans people get elected? We will discuss it. Water break. I'm so curious how long this video is going to end up being. Am I going to upload like an hour and a half long weekly update video every week? I mean, it fucking depends on how much news there is to talk about. I didn't even include everything that I wanted to include today. And still, I have 6 things I need to get through. And like, some of them require extensive commentary. I may have to take a little midstream break and run to the restroom. Let me go ahead and update the stream goal, because we've already hit the initial stream goal. Thank you very much. And if you guys want to continue dropping your donations, feel free. Come back, chat. Where are you? Okay, we are in the middle of our political discussion. I just need to take a little restroom break, and I'll fill up my water and stuff while I'm gone. But we'll be back very soon, so don't go anywhere. I'll cry. Don't do it. You don't want to miss the rest of the news, okay? Back soon. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. I just needed to use the restroom and get some water. And now that I've entered my office again, my cat is like, oh man, you just reminded me how thirsty I am. I gotta go drink water. Okay, bye. Bye. Weirdo. Yeah, on the topic of not ceding any ground to Republicans, I think it's also, worthy of mentioning that we should also not cede ground on the language that we use. Like, we should push back when they refer to trans women as biological males. That is false and transphobic, and that's worthy of pushing back on its own. Okay, I do need to make sure I save this link. Where is my notes? Okay, got my notes ready and updated. This one I don't plan on spending a huge amount of time on. This is almost more of an honorable mentions kind of thing. But we are starting to see the material impact of anti-trans bathroom legislation and maybe even just a general anti-trans sentiment regarding bathrooms. And I've said it many times, obviously these bills are designed to hit trans people, but they will end up doing splash damage to other people. There are more gender nonconforming cis women, non-trans women in this country than there are trans women in this country, right? So just by volume, the people who are going to end up being impacted the most, just because there are way more of them for it to happen to, are gender nonconforming cis women. Like, you know, imagine a butch lesbian, or imagine an old woman who has started to look a lot like her husband, because there's that joke of like husbands and wives gradually start to look like each other as they get older. So I just want to highlight this. In Arizona, a non-trans woman, a cis woman, confronted by police officers in a Walmart restroom in Arizona. So this woman, we're being honest here, okay? She is gender nonconforming. I believe she is a lesbian or gay identified, and black. Like, black women's gender has been questioned historically in a way that white people have not had to deal with. Because, like, oh, they're so muscular, oh, they're so masculine, or whatever. Like, and it does, I think, also branch out a bit from the racist, oh, I can't even tell you apart kind of thing. It's like, oh, the men look like the women look like the men. So it's just fucked up on so many different levels. I'm calling attention to it because it's like, this is who is going to end up being harmed. She is described by the Advocate as a black 19-year-old cisgender lesbian from Phoenix, confronted by two male sheriff's deputies in the restroom. She describes herself as a stud. So this is, for any of the white people in the audience who don't know, a stud is kind of a very particular gender identity, or like queer identity. Like, it's kind of like a butch lesbian, but it's a very particular kind of black community or maybe Hispanic community thing as well. Like, it's people of color who are butch, masculine looking women, typically who are gay, like attracted to women, stud. So this is something that's going to impact, again, like that particular demographic of people. These deputies assumed she was a trans woman. She entered the restroom with her ex-girlfriend, who handed her a tampon, when two male deputies stormed in. So she is in the restroom trying to insert a tampon into her vagina that she was born with. And then they start flashing their flashlights under the stall on her feet, demanding that she leave the restroom. She does have a video. I don't want to watch it because I think it would be just unnecessarily stressful to everybody. But yeah, they're telling her to leave the restroom. She lifted up her shirt to prove she was not a man. Like, I'm guessing she showed that she's wearing a sports bra and she has breasts. And the deputies did not drop it there. They continued to question her appearance, insisting she, quote, looked like a man. There's a 9-second clip she's posted to TikTok, which if you want to click through, you're welcome to see it. But her comment, her caption she shared it with says, "Studs, be careful where you pee." Basically saying out there, like, hey, if you're a gay black woman who dresses masculine, you need to be worried. Like, an entire group of people who ostensibly, according to the official, you know, the stated position that these people have, is they want to get rid of trans women, right? But the actual impact it has is that it hurts queer women, it hurts black women, It hurts menopausal women. It hurts women who need to bring their disabled son into the restroom because he needs assistance. Like in that situation, what do you do? Does the adult woman go into the men's restroom with her disabled son? Like, is the disabled son safer in that men's restroom, or is he safer in the women's restroom? Is that woman safer in the men's restroom or in the women's restroom? Sometimes there isn't a disabled option. Like, maybe that should be a requirement for exactly this situation, but also, like, you could just let people use whatever bathroom and not tear people's hair out about it. So anyway, yeah, I don't have a lot else to add. It's, you know, this is going to hurt people that aren't intended to be hurt, I guess. And it's like, it's going to hurt people who are intended to be hurt. And that's also not a good thing. Like, that's also not okay. This woman says she believes a Walmart cashier called the authorities since the employee had been watching her closely before she entered the restroom. Shh. Oh my God. Racist Walmart employees, mind your fucking business. Dude, are you for real? Like, I work at the Walmart and I've decided that I'm going to be a cop today and fucking bother a black woman because she's not gender conforming enough for my personal opinion. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I get it, Sophie. Like, if anything, the fact that it's going to hurt black and lesbian women, it's like an added benefit. But I'm just saying, you know, like, if you think you're safe from this, there's a good chance that you're not. Like, the group of people getting targeted grows and grows and grows. They state that it's about trans people, but then actually it's about black people too. Or they'll say it's about illegal immigrants, but then they start detaining people who have a legal green card. And that's happening more and more. And it's something that I wanted to talk about today in more detail, but I just don't have time to talk about everything that I want to talk about this week. So I might get into it next week, this whole like immigration shit going crazy and people being detained and everything. Yeah, the group of people affected gets bigger and bigger. That's what the poem is about. The first, they came for the communists, and I did nothing because I wasn't a communist. Like that, the out group gets bigger and bigger. Like the group of people getting targeted gets bigger and bigger. And the in group, the acceptable group, gets smaller and smaller as fascism continues to take over. So you might feel like, you know, for example, the Blair Whites of the world, very attractive trans woman who passes. She thinks, oh, if I just have a bunch of right-wing opinions and I agree that this is a mental illness, then they won't target me. But that's not the actual case. You know, when push comes to shove, Blair White has to deal with people on her side telling her the best thing she could do for their movement is to grow out her mustache. Like, it's super not cool. Yeah, and like, why are male officers in the women's restroom if they're so against men in the women's room? Like, that's another thing that actually this woman has I don't know if she's made an official complaint, but she should make an official complaint that like, you're worried about men in the women's restroom. Why didn't you send female cops? Because it's not really about that. Do you like genuinely, what is a more dangerous situation? Like a trans woman using the restroom or a cis gender nonconforming woman using the restroom, or male cops entering the restroom to harass and bother women, whether they're cis or trans. And like this woman, she exposed herself. Like she pulled up her shirt and showed her underwear and her breasts. Like probably, I don't think she fully exposed herself, I would assume, but she exposed part of her body to prove that she belonged in there. And that is not good enough. Like, that's in the video. Okay, maybe, yeah, even better for me to not post the video. But yeah, like the expectation that you should just be like, as a female, you should just tolerate male officers harassing you in a female restroom because that's going to keep you safer somehow. Is that going to keep you safer somehow? She should sue Walmart, says Mersh, for discrimination. Right. Yeah. She should sue Walmart. She should sue the police department. Like, if it's illegal for men to be in the women's restroom, why the fuck are you in there? Is it not also illegal for the cop to be in there? Like, what are you doing? So anyway, I don't have a lot to add on that. We're about to shift gears. We're about to start talking about stuff that is less stressful. So if you're here because you clicked the timestamp, we're going to talk about some things that are less stressful now and hopefully getting into some good news and feeling a little bit uplifted by that. Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. Before we continue, Inabox has said the intention is to subjugate women, so this is still hitting the intended target. Yeah, absolutely. Because even cis women might change the way that they dress if they're worried about getting arrested in a public restroom. It is a means of controlling people's behavior, and I do think that it is fair to say that they do not like that women go out in public and exercise their right to like dress the way that they want to and use the spaces that are most comfortable for them and everything. Exactly, yes. We're going to let the police, who have a very high rate of domestic abuse on their own wives, into the women's bathroom. Make it make sense. Yeah, and they don't want women to be cops probably either. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so anyway, with all that said, thank you everybody in the comments or in the chat here. If you didn't know, we have stream twice a week. So the audience here on YouTube in the recorded video, if you're interested, like Wednesday stream is a hangout stream. Sunday stream is when we record these videos. I'm just going to take a little minute to shift gears. We're about to talk about some positive things. I want to do a couple of shout outs mid-video, but don't go anywhere because we're about to start talking about some other things, right? But I just want to say I appreciate you all being here. If you would like to support the show, some free ways that you can do it are by hitting like, hitting subscribe, turning on notifications. Those are all quick and easy. Feel free to leave your comments down below if there's anything you think I missed this week or any additional commentary you want to make, elaborating on any of the things that we've brought up today. I have merch. If you want to support the show financially, you can purchase something and get something out of the deal. That's a way to support the show. I also take donations. It's my birthday month, so if you want me to have a little birthday celebration, think about pitching me $5. And I've got other channels and stuff, but I'm not going to shout those out maybe until the end. With all that said, Patreon too. If you want to make a pledge every month, you get even more special stuff, whatever. Anyway, thank you for your support. And with that, I'm ready to move on to some positive news. Let's talk about some positive news, okay? Let's cleanse the timeline. And then we'll talk about some action items at the end here. So you all might remember that we had an executive order. I discussed it already on my channel, so if you've watched my recent videos, you will have already seen that I discussed the executive order targeting trans youth, basically trying to make it illegal at the federal level for anyone to give gender-affirming care to trans youth. There have been a couple of updates on that. For example, the states of Washington, Oregon, and Minnesota sued the government over that, and a judge gave them an injunction saying, okay, this executive order cannot be enforced. That's what an injunction is, if you're not familiar. It says you cannot enforce this law because we're deciding in the courts whether this law is legal or not. So the injunction only applied to those 3 states. But the positive update for today is that a judge has blocked the Trump trans ban nationwide and slams reliance on the Cass review. So if we don't remember, the Cass review is the document, the very biased document being used in the United Kingdom and like England or whatever to justify making trans care completely inaccessible to any minors, and including potentially they will go after your family legally if you get that child, if you get your child healthcare related to being trans through some private means, like by paying a private doctor who's not associated with the national healthcare system. Anyway, that's the Cass review. And this judge is slamming the reliance on the Cass review. So this was in the district court for the District of Maryland, and that has blocked the enforcement of this executive order across the country now. The preliminary injunction applies nationwide. Yes, again, previously Minnesota, Oregon, and Washington were protected, but now it's nationwide. You cannot enforce this executive order pending further judgment by the court system. So, yeah, obviously, these laws have a tendency to, or sorry, these executive orders and frankly, some of the laws that they try to pass lack a clear enforcement mechanism. Like, what is going to happen actually if you do this thing that they're trying to say is illegal now? So the judge, Brendan A. Herson, appointed by Biden, has issued a clear order halting all the enforcement efforts and mandating the reimbursement of any federal funds that had been withheld. This is the thing about this type of action that I just want to call attention to if you weren't familiar with this previously, that the way that they enforce these things, they don't even have to make it like a crime in the sense of, oh, you'll go to jail, but rather the way that these executive powers enforce these things is by saying, well, we're just going to not give you money if you do gender related care for children. Like, you won't be able to get Medicaid funds anymore, or like some public hospitals are like publicly funded by taxes and stuff. So by saying like, we're not going to give you that money, you can then force cooperation by the hospitals, even if that's not like actually illegal. You can just threaten to withhold their funding. So this judge has mandated that you must give that funds to those hospitals. Like, you have to give them that money. That's what the injunction is for. It's like, you can't enforce the executive order as written while we're deciding whether it's legal or not. Right. And I will say that there is obviously the question of whether Trump is going to follow what the court says. It's a back and forth. This whole process is a back and forth. And that's why I have been sort of urging people to not panic, because these things will play out in the court system for several years. So the back and forth goes, Trump makes an executive order, then the judges have to say, like, that's not legal, you can't enforce that. And then Trump might disobey that rule, and then the courts can hold him in contempt, or potentially that could be grounds for impeachment, or I don't know, potentially grounds for ultimate removal. Like, it's going to go back and forth for a while. And I want to validate, even though this is like supposed to be a positive news segment, that there is a reasonable concern that Trump will just ignore what the courts say, right? But that's just Trump. This injunction applies nationwide. So we're having like a nationwide, many hundreds or even thousands of interactions and decisions that are being made, where it may be that in some states they side with the president and they decide not to follow the court order, but then that hospital or whatever can potentially have like a large consequence for not following the judge's order, right? So it's across this nation, many different situations happening, and it's good. I just want to say it's a good thing that the courts themselves are still working to do what they're supposed to do. So I just want to call this out as like this is definitely good news. And this judge has attacked the CAS review thing, pointing out that medical associations and subject matter experts have criticized the CAS review for the author's lack of clinical experience or research qualifications, the selective and inconsistent use of evidence, the unfounded medical opinions, which ignore more than 3 decades of clinical experience in this area, as well as existing evidence showing the benefits of these interventions for young people, pointing out that the CAS review's conclusions do not even support a complete ban on gender-affirming care, and that the CAS report itself recognized that a ban on gender-affirming medical interventions for adolescents would not be appropriate. In combination with that, like, we don't know what's going to happen in the United States with this, right? But I did want to tie this into something going on in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, because they have issued new guidelines recommending trans youth care and slamming the CAS review as well. So I am calling attention to this and focusing on not just the American perspective, because this is a good thing. This means that we can continue to point at people want to point at European countries and say, look, these countries up here, these ones are restricting trans access, and this one right here is restricting trans access. Let's look to Europe as the bastions. But then we can equally point out, like, okay, well, these European countries who also have a very high standard of medical care have said that the CAS review is bullshit and we should treat trans youth. So if you live in Germany, if you're considering moving to Germany as well, like this means that Germany could be a good option if you are looking at places to go. Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. If you have a trans kid and you're thinking about leaving the United States, this could be a good option for you. And obviously this adds to a global movement of holding fast to the facts, not giving ground on the actual medical consensus on this. Byron says he deserves it, but if Dems actually manage to impeach and remove Trump, well, let's just say I'll be trying a few things in my life that I thought might be too hard. Yeah, wouldn't it be inspiring? Wouldn't it feel like they had accomplished the impossible? I don't know what's going to happen again with the whole court system in the United States. It's kind of a clusterfuck. Also worth noting, Ember, thank you for pointing it out, that Spain, France, and Poland have done the same thing as Germany did in this conversation. Basically, more and more countries, civilized countries with national healthcare systems who don't have an actively transphobic political element skewing the data and skewing the information and inserting an ideological narrative of two genders, no trans kids, blah, 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 lifestyle choice, whatever. There are more and more sane countries standing up for trans rights. Okay, I don't think I have anything else to add on that, really. I just wanted to point out the good news. Now we have Sarah McBride. Pause that. Drink a little bit of coffee before the next one. I'm like, I know I'm going to edit this later, so I can edit out the little parts in between where I'm like, oh man, I need to catch my breath and get a little water. Or coffee. Yeah, if you've got family in another country that could help you resettle, like, Austria, for sure. Computer mode! What's up, Ember? Hello! Delicious. I like how this cup is like as big as my entire face. Like I drink from it and my face just disappears into it. If you haven't yet hit like on the stream, by the way, consider hitting like on the stream. It's so interesting. We have 87 likes, but only 50 viewers. That happens sometimes when we have a big boost and then people drop off because I'm not talking about the issue that they want me to talk about. Yo. Okay, 2 more positive topics. We have 2 more positive topics to get into. Oh, maybe I need to put this back in the other part of the stream. I'm forgetting. I forgot this until later, that Gavin Newsom saw a 10-point drop in favorability since launching the podcast. Like, the podcast made 13% of voters have an improved perception of the governor, and double that, 26% said that it harmed their perception. So to be clear, I'm just adding this here. To be clear, not only did cozying up to right-wing ideology lose the election just now, but Gavin Newsom just screwed over his own public favorability by launching a podcast and interviewing Charlie Kirk and saying a bunch of anti-trans stuff. Like, you're not escaping from the consequences of your actions. Stop cozying up to right-wingers, Democrats. We hate it so much. Anyway, I'm going to have to hopefully remember to tag that and put it at the correct part of the show. Yeah, like not only are they lose support from progressives and left-leaning people, but they also don't gain any right-leaning voters. Kamala Harris didn't like get a bunch of Republicans to vote for her. They didn't, or at least like no more than the expected usual amount of Republicans voted Democrat in that election. So you're losing left voters and you're not gaining any right voters. So what are you doing, Gavin? Anyway. Now I want to talk about Sarah McBride, the representative from Delaware. I have my issues with Sarah McBride and her tactics, but she's in a difficult position. She is the only trans person in the federal Congress at this time. The only out trans person in that position. And as a trans woman, you know, it's quite difficult. So I don't want to criticize her too much because she's in a very unique position. And I think that this particular situation is I think cause for celebration. Let's try to call this a win. We got to have some wins, so let's claim this one as a win. Let's talk about Brianna. Remind me to talk about Brianna Wu after we finish recording the whole thing. Maybe I'll open up Blue Sky. We'll talk about that as like a just for stream conversation. Zinnia Jones. Sorry, give me a second. I'm trying to find this thing that I want to talk about later. Zinnia posts a lot, so sometimes it's hard to find the specific thing. Okay, now I have found yesterday's posts. It's from a couple days ago. Oh my god, Zinnia. You're talking about Brianna Wu. Some guest on Hassan described Brianna Wu as having no inner monologue. The kind of person who doesn't have any thoughts inside their head. See, I know that some people don't think in words, so I don't want to like dog on people for just not having an inner monologue. That seems mean, but I think that more broadly the point that's being made is that Brianna Wu doesn't really have much going on in her brain. Oh my god, dude. I really appreciate how much work Zinnia does, but also it just makes it really hard to find anything if you're like, oh yeah, I remember Zinnia posted about that because it was her conversation with Brianna. There it is. I found it. Okay. Now I'll keep that open for later. Great. Okay, now we're going to talk about Sarah McBride. So yeah, like I said, she's in a difficult position and she's being targeted in a number of ways already. They're like, oh, we're going to make a rule that says no one on Capitol Hill can use the bathroom of a different gender than they were assigned at birth. And Sarah McBride's like, well, guess what? I was going to use my private bathroom in my office anyway, so whatever. Sorry, you're too focused on me and not on like solving problems for the American people. You know, it's very milquetoast kind of response that she has, but she's being faced with indignities on a daily basis, and I want to discuss one of those and show you the video of one of those today, and hopefully get the audio, everything figured out here. I'm going to turn it up, and we'll see how, like, am I going to lose my hearing if I listen to this? We'll find out.
As the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating.
So I just want to pause it right there because the leader of the thing said, Mr. McBride, and she said, thank you, Madam Chair. And I think she was planning to leave it there. So that's, okay, cute. She fired back. That's the new thing that's happening, is like we're misgendering old white men to make a point, which I think is fine.
Also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor.
So a different Democratic representative has just interrupted to stick up for her. I can't remember this guy's name. We'll find out in a second.
Floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency?
I appreciate when people who aren't trans stick up for trans people. I don't want to, like, this could be wrong. I don't know. Like, some people might disagree with me. Like, he did interrupt her, and that's her time ticking down. Like, she is supposed to have 5 minutes to address this question or whatever. They're like, these are people that are there to be questioned, I assume, in this committee meeting. So, like, I don't, you could criticize this guy or whatever, but I do appreciate when people stick up for trans people and call out the fact that this is indecent behavior.
I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this
You
hearing.
will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
Okay, so can I also just say that, like, you didn't even, okay, yes, there is a standard of, excuse me, I'll get this out of my ear. There's a standard of decorum, of like how you refer to everybody. So like Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, or Madam Chair, whatever. But you could also say representative and still be following those rules of decorum. So that guy could have said the Representative McBride and just left it there, but they go out of their way to say something rude. They go out of their way to like misgender, to reduce the dignity of their trans colleague. And she was content to just move on. Like, okay, I hear you misgender me and I raise you, misgender you back. And then she was going to move on. But they couldn't even hold the committee meeting because this guy in the center refused to just be decent to his colleague. So Keith Self is the name of the Republican in this situation who misgendered Sarah McBride. He immediately went to Twitter, Lamau, obviously, went to Twitter to justify his actions, writing, quote, It is the policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, male and female, which refers to the Trump executive order, which has no binding authority over the House and also no legal standing of its own. There's nothing in that order. Like, it's not a law that passed. You know, he's referencing the language in the executive order. The United States only recognizes two sexes, male and female, but there's no law that says that. It's only this non-binding executive order. And like also nothing in the order compels any House members to misgender their colleagues. And it also does not excuse his refusal to extend her even the most basic courtesy or respect. Right. Like, I'm just quoting this Aaron in the Morning article, but yeah, like this is the problem. She keeps being treated this way. She's been referred to as the gentleman from Delaware. Like, and these people are proud of themselves. Like they're doing something. Like they really feel like they've accomplished something. They really feel like they've done something. Let me try to, what's the name of this guy who's being cool? Keating? Bill Keating, Democrat Bill Keating, who is the one who stood up for her in this. Yeah, and also that executive order is blocked currently nationwide. That's what we just discussed a few minutes ago on this very show. Like there's a nationwide injunction. You can't enforce it. It's a completely meaningless piece of paper right now. It holds no sway or any power whatsoever. And I wanted to further allow Sarah McBride herself to respond and see, because I think I watched this already, but I want to see, you know, what does Sarah say after this event? Because she does respond.
We will not take a lecture on decorum from a party.
Hold on. That was too loud. Sorry. Let me pull it back.
We will not take a lecture on decorum from a party that incited an insurrection.
Girl, howdy. Oh, man, that's fucking just right out the gate. Very powerful. I'm like, you don't get to explain decorum to me when y'all did all that.
I appear to live rent-free in the minds of some of my Republican colleagues. I wish that they would spend even a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, thinking about how to lower the costs for American families. I wish they would spend a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, figuring out how to make government actually work better, rather than making it work worse in order to prove that government can't work. They are obsessed with culture war issues. The Republican Party is obsessed with culture war issues. It is weird and it is bizarre.
Thank you.
And the American people deserve...
Oh, man. I just like, okay. So as a normie Democrat, she's doing this thing. She's not a leftist. She's not an activist, okay? And obviously people are frustrated with some of her actions and people think she could be doing more or whatever. She could be pushing back more. Her position, her role in this whole thing is to do exactly what she's doing here, is to say, you are making a big deal out of me being here. I was duly elected by the people of Delaware, and I'm here to represent their interests. And by extension, you know, making life better for all American people. And it's very worthy for her. Like, this is the thing that she has to do, is she has to keep saying, let's focus on real issues. Why are they attacking trans people? Why are they worried about me? They're not serving you. And like, this is a way to try to get people to recognize that the Republican Party is not doing anything in the interest of the people who are voting for them. Like, they don't care about the material response, or sorry, the material lived reality of Republican voters. They don't care that those people are struggling to put food on the table for their kids. They don't care that those people are like struggling. Like, they just don't care that those people, you know, have teeth falling out of their heads, can't afford to go to the doctor, like can't cover the basic costs for their kids, have to work multiple jobs. Like, they do not care about those people. So Sarah McBride, as much as people are frustrated with her, like, this is her job, basically. In the grand scheme, you know, everybody has a role. And this is something that I'm trying to, that's why we have action items that we're going to talk about at the end of this video, because like, everybody has a role to play. You have a certain set of skills. You have a certain context in which you exist. and you have to find what your niche is. And Sarah McBride is an establishment Democrat who is the kind of person who cozies up to people who are in charge of stuff, and she doesn't create community with other trans people, basically is what I know about Sarah McBride. So obviously, I have an issue with some of those things, but her job is to be what she is. We needed one of them. We needed one person in the federal Congress to be able to say stuff like this. That's her job. Her job is not to be an activist. So I think she's doing exactly what she needs to do, calling attention to the fact that the Republicans do not serve the American people. Let's see what else she has to say here at the end.
Serious legislators, serious elected officials who are focused on bringing people together to deliver real results for the American people, not to play games and not to engage in schoolyard taunts.
Boom. There you go. So that's just, I don't really have a lot else to add on that. I just wanted to call attention to, like, look, this is a good thing that's happening, I believe. There are Democrats like Bill Keating, right? It was Bill, who are willing to stand up for trans people, who are willing to stop the work being done in order to support trans people. It's like, no, we're not having any kind of meeting today if you're going to act with that level of depravity, that level of cruelty toward someone who is supposed to be your equal on this panel, which I think we need more. We need more Democrats saying, like, no. We're going to grind the wheels to a halt. We're going to throw as many wrenches in those gears as we can, so long as you're doing all this fucked up shit. Like, that's what protest is for. When we protest, when people go out and they block highways, it's because we're saying, like, you don't get to have normal. Like, you don't get to just go about business as usual if this is what you're going to be doing. Like, that's the power of protest. And we do need elected officials engaging in the same kind of stuff, which is why it's so frustrating that the votes happened this week, but we're not talking about that. We're in the good stuff segment of the show, which we might talk about more next week, just tying into the future of the Democratic Party thing. I did consider talking about it today, and then I realized that the show was already going to be too long. Anyway, so that's that. Sarah McBride, good stuff. Getting my notes ready, or my links ready for the next segment here. And this will be the last news item we talk about today, and then we'll have a small action items section, and then we'll move on. What's up, baby squid? Yep. Okay. So this last story, and then we will move on to action items, and then we'll be done for today. So there are anti-trans things being proposed across the country, and it's not much of a surprise, right? So you might wonder, okay, why am I picking this one in Wisconsin to talk about today, where in Wisconsin they proposed legislation called Bill 104, which of course is a stock standard. We've gotten used to this. They're trying to ban gender-affirming care for trans youth. You know, I don't know the specifics. Maybe they've said under the age of 18. Maybe they're saying one type of care is okay and a different kind isn't. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. They're targeting trans people. And as with many cases, there is an open commentary part of the bill being proposed where people can come in and talk about why they think that they support it or why they are against it. A lot of trans people have been showing up to these things and talking about their very deeply held, like, beliefs and, like, their life experience. People are being very vulnerable and saying, you know, this care saved my life. This care saved my child's life. You know, basically pleading to treat them with dignity. That's what people are doing here. And it sucks that people have to lay bare their life experience to a group of hateful strangers who don't care. And it feels so futile, I feel, because there have been so many times over the past couple years where we highlight, hey, here's an amazing trans person speaking in support of their rights. Maybe even sometimes it's a trans child or trans teenager speaking passionately in support of their own existence and rights. And so often, despite those very moving testimonials, the law passes anyway, you know, which is why I personally, I find it very degrading, and I personally have not made the time to go to any of these town hall meetings or whatever. But I want to highlight this because that work matters, and it does change things, even if it doesn't change that particular person, or that particular law might still pass or whatever. But it's not just the lawmakers listening, it's other people too. And I want to highlight one of those people, and I'll let him speak, and then I will, if it's hard to hear or hard to understand what he's saying, I want to kind of translate it through a little bit, and make sure that my volume is good, and then we'll continue.
I'd like to apologize to you people. I was invited here.
Okay, that's perfect volume. Let's go ahead and start this over. So this is a man who came to one of these hearings, and he's a conservative who wanted to speak in support of an anti-trans bill.
I'd like to apologize to you people. I was invited here to give my support for Bill 401. I have very little knowledge of gay people and things like that there. So when I came here, my eyes were open. I was one of the critics that sat on the side and made the decisions there was only two genders. So I got an education that was unbelievable. And I don't know just exactly how to say this, but my perspective for people have changed. So I don't take up no more of your time. I'd like to apologize for being here, and I learned a very lot about this group of people. I'd like to apologize.
So basically, he came there thinking, I'm going to say there's only two genders and we got to stop doing this crazy nonsense. And this is like, he's like an old conservative man, you know, in Wisconsin. And sitting through the commentary of trans people, changed this man's mind. He listened to people talking about their lived real experiences, and he felt a change. And like, for this person to immediately, like, without, he didn't even need to take several days to process it or anything, because that does happen. Like, sometimes you might change somebody's mind and you don't even know about it because they change their mind off screen for you later on their own time. But for this man to be like, I've sat here through testimony, probably from trans youth, probably from parents, probably from trans adults, talking about how this would negatively impact them. And he now feels like he was wrong. He said he was sorry for being there. Like, I'm sorry that I showed up here to oppose you and your rights. Like, I'm sorry that I came here to support a rule that would change things for you in a way that made your life harder. Like, so many moments of compassion and empathy. That is what a movement like this needs. This is what we build, like the day-to-day. This is why I keep saying for trans people to become active members of their communities, because you will change people's minds. And like I want to call attention to Zoe Zephyr too. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the stream, but Zoe Zephyr and S.J. Howell are transgender members of the House of Representatives in Montana, and they gave impassioned speeches against anti-trans bills, and they flipped 29 Republicans. 29 Republicans ended up voting against anti-trans legislation in Montana. And even one Republican, I can't remember who it was, but one Republican actually spoke out against the Republican who had proposed the bill. Like, it does make a difference. You know, they changed the minds of Republicans who tend to vote together, right? It is possible to change minds. It is possible to change the law or to stop anti-trans laws. Yeah, I agree. Emotion like this, seeing that man speak made me emotional too, because everything feels so hopeless all the time, and that's why I want to. I'm structuring this show in the way that I've structured it. We talked about these negative things and we've talked about these positive things, and I want to show that it's not hopeless. We can make a difference. We can change things. One person at a time, 29 people at a time. Telling your story is going to change someone's mind. It is going to make some young trans person feel safe to be themselves. So when we talk about action items, I want to round out every single one of these shows, every single one of these episodes, with something you can physically do, right? So my call to action items for today is to show up at a town hall or an in-person, ideally peaceful protest. I think we need to start showing up physically. And like, if you're trans and you're unsafe and you know that showing up to a town hall is going to upset people in your very, very small community or something, I'm not telling you to put yourself in physical danger, right? I'm saying to the extent that you are capable, to the extent that it's safe for you, get out there physically. Show up at a town hall, show up at a school board meeting, show up at one of these meetings where they're taking public comment. Your story can change minds. As an ally, your story can change minds. As someone who maybe didn't used to be supportive and now is supportive, your testimony can change minds. And like, as a secondary action item, I guess, connected to that is like, if you're able to, consider running for office or supporting some local politician running for office. Zoe Zephyr has a consultation thing that she does. Let me see if I can find it. So this is, if you go to Zoe Zephyr's, and I guess I'll try to remember to put here, I'll put a link in my notes so that I include it for the YouTube description. But Zoe Zephyr has, she's expressing, she says she's setting up a form so that she can have a 15-minute one-on-one call with someone who is trying to basically get involved in politics. If you're trans and you want to get involved in politics, Zoe Zephyr is making herself available to help explain to you how, this is not her website, but she's willing to help explain to you the process of how to get started. And another great resource she recommends is called runforsomething.net. And that, it's a recruiting and supporting talented, passionate young leaders to run for state and local office. So you might not even think that that's suitable to your skills, but looking into it is probably a good place to start. So those are my action items as far as like strong action items you can take this week. One of the two of those things, either look into runforsomething.net or look into showing up somewhere in person. There's protests happening all the time now. People protest outside of a Tesla dealership. People protest outside of the town hall, or outside of the city capitol or whatever. There are protests happening all the time. And you can get involved. If you're under the age of 40, runforsomething.net. That's specifically what they do. But if you're over 40, you could still contact Zoe Zephyr and see if she can help you in a 15-minute call to figure out how to get involved more directly in your community. My other action item for this week, something that I want you to do, additionally to those other things, if possible, is pick one day in the next week and choose one social media to not go on that day. So if you're having a really hard time getting off of Twitter, Pick one day where you don't get on Twitter. Maybe you can still scroll your Instagram, right? Whichever social media you feel is causing you the most stress, take one day this week and just don't log on to that particular social media. And this is kind of a way to build up to maybe having a couple days of the week where you don't touch any social media, because it's toxic and harmful. There's a reason why I'm only doing one video per week now. You should also reduce the amount of time that you spend consuming this content. And you should seek out the good stories. If you're having a hard time finding the good stories, come here, because I'm going to always include at least one positive development in these weekly videos. So I'm kind of ending that portion of the thing today. So thank you very much for watching. Those of you on YouTube in the future, I appreciate it. As always, you can hit like, comment, and subscribe. That's free. You can support the show financially by purchasing merch, donating to the Patreon, one-time donations through my website, or if you want to help get me something for my birthday, I have a wish list on Throne that you can check out. And with all that said, thank you very much for watching the video. And I'm going to continue with my stream now. If you want to hang out on stream, check us out on Sundays and Wednesdays. And I'll see you next time. Yeah, we watched that one last time, if I remember right, Max. Showed up at a Republican event and challenged a conservative radio host on the anti-LGBTQ stances. Yeah, we listened to that last time, I believe. I don't really know how much of a difference showing up at a Republican event like that is going to make, but yeah, just show up wherever you feel like it's going to make a difference. Show up. Hi, Milena. I saw you come in there earlier, and I was just like, I'm so focused on the stream segment. So that was like, it was not quite 2 hours long, but it's definitely going to be quite a segment that I need to edit down. Yeah, people across the world have collectively just agreed that Cybertrucks are trash. I mean, they are. Apparently now the metal siding is just like falling off. Jeez. Ooh, we're almost at 100 likes today. You gay. Duh. Have you seen Goral? Yeah, on International Women's Day, I just posted like, women. We love women. Oh my god, my thumbs are so red right now. Later, Max. Yeah, we only have like an hour until the scheduled typical time that we get off the show. So if you're back in an hour, we might still be here. I love every woman, and by that I mean Whitney Houston. Fair. So let's talk about Brianna Wu, huh? Close some of these tabs that I don't need open anymore. Okay, this Gavin Newsom thing, I need to grab that because I said I was going to provide all the links. Gavin loses support immediately. Wow, I have so many links from today's show. I'm definitely going to have to do it shorter next time. I don't know if people are going to watch an almost 2-hour long, like, weekly roundup video. Man, that's not ideal for the algorithm. Talk about Woo if we must. I mean, it's just for fun, right? It's just for fun. Boo woo, I know. Is this like one long picture? Okay, I'm not going to be able to click into it. We're just going to have to look at it here. So Brianna Wu. We're talking about Attorney Wu. Is she an attorney? She seems like she's not a practicing attorney if she is an attorney. Oh my god, my eye keeps twitching. I need to get some potassium in my diet. Potassium. Ugh. I keep saying things to the tune of Activia. Activia. Ah. Yeah, I love long screenshots on Discord. This one's on Blue Sky, but still. So what was the original? I guess I didn't see the original. Oh yeah, okay, so here is the original comment. So Brianna Wu posted, as part of my political project to give normal, non-degenerate trans women a voice, I have an announcement. If you're a weird sex freak... Oh wait, no, hold on. No. This is not the thing. This is not the original thing. What's the original thing? I don't know if Zinnia posted the original comment. Like, what was she originally even saying? Oh my god. Zinnia's amazing long threads. Like, what was I? Oh yeah, no, you know what? I can still see what she posts on Twitter because even though she's blocked me, I can still see things that people have blocked me have posted. Who knows when that was? In a box. Thank you. For the gifted sub to Mersh. Mersh now has a tier 2 sub. They said Mersh can have some color. I deleted the U out of respect. Yeah, you spelled it the English way. Fun. Thank you. Appreciate that. That puts us at $120 for today. Keep in mind, everybody, that the donations directly to the website come to me much sooner than the ones through Super Chat. So Super Chats are lovely, but prefer direct donations on the website. Yeah, I know she's blocked me. Okay, what was it? I don't even know. Is she another one of those I post 8 fucking million times a day, so it's impossible to find anything that I've actually said kind of deal? When was this? When was Zinnia's post originally? Zinnia's post was 5 days ago, so I have to go to 5 days ago on Brianna Wu to find anything. Oh my god, what even is today? The 16th? Yeah, the 16th. So something like the 11th. Okay, cool. Yeah, found it. Great. Okay. So she's responding to this concept, all right? This left-handedness concept that, you know, for a while it seemed like there were almost no left-handed people, and then it skyrocketed. OMG, it's doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and then it has stabilized at around 12% of the population, right? And we bring this up a lot of the time because we talk about this in the trans context of like, yeah, it's maybe seems like there's a ton of trans people suddenly, but it will stabilize because we're just like now not treating them like shit, right? So of course we're going to see a slight resurgence and then it'll level off. But Brianna Wu doesn't like that. She thinks that this is a bad thing. She's saying, oh my God, the medical safeguards are being dismantled. Our cohort change, it's not just the extreme cases anymore. Now it's the marginal cases too. We've got some really maladjusted sexual creeps, including a ton of fetishistic cross-dressers, which is a massively larger population than trans women. That's rich. I don't know. Like, yeah, we cannot insist that trans women are women and benign in women's spaces when we're lowering the standards and like any fucking man can transition or whatever. And then Zinnia Jones said, to be clear, were you reading this as meaning of the 12% of the population who are left-handed, only 3% and 1/4 are actually left-handed, which implies the other 3/4 of left-handed people are only left-handed because they are, quote, malleable to social pressures. That's basically like Brianna Wu has been basically saying that only like 1/4 of self-identified trans people are really trans, and the rest of them are just malleable to social pressures. And she is saying this while quoting this thing, which is supposed to be pointing out that it'll level out over time. But what she's saying is like, okay, of this sudden resurgence of trans identifying people, only like 1/4 of them are really trans. Like only this number from back when it was highly restrictive are really trans. So Zinnia is like trying to respond to that. Yeah, because she says, yeah, there are two ways to read this chart. The way I read it is that the 3% down here are the people that are actually left-handed. Wait, she actually said that? Did she actually say that? She said the rest are people who are malleable to social pressures, except that it has remained stable for fucking 60 years in this chart. 1940 through 2000, 60 years of stable. Obviously, this is like it's like a simplified graph and everything. Like it's showing one metric very clearly, but like this is based on data, the history and geography of human-handedness. That's been how can you say that these fucking like 8% of people for decades, multiple generations, are susceptible to social pressures? What the fuck? That's crazy. And then Brianna Wu says, why don't you stick to autistically oversharing about your freaky sex life? What you're best at, champ. And like, that's rude, obviously. And Zinnia Jones is like, I'm trying to address your actual argument. I'm saying if your argument about transness being malleable to social pressures extends to this claim about left-handedness, like this argument proves too much. Yeah, remember that time we all got peer pressured into being left-handed? And then Brianna refuses to engage in the argument because she thinks that Zinnia is beneath her. She says, I'm saying you're so degenerate and weird and embarrassingly perverted. I do not wish to know you or engage you on what day of the week it is, much less trans politics. Fuck off to the cum dungeon. And Zinnia says, you had somehow managed to not be like this even a year ago. Bye, freak, get tested, says Brianna. Which is like crazy because like I haven't seen Zinnia post about her sex life in years. Like, and she was monogamously married for a long time, as far as I could tell, or like had a primary partner, and then they had a third person who they were in a relationship with. And then since then, as far as I know, Zinnia has been monogamously married to her wife who had a stroke. And Zinnia is focused on like helping her wife recover. And then Zinnia had a near-death experience and has been diagnosed with autistic savant syndrome. Like Zinnia has been dealing with other shit. It's been years and years and years since I've seen Zinnia post anything like explicitly sexual. But also like, it's so interesting that Brianna Wu is like, I'm normal. My sexual desires are normal. And I don't talk about them publicly because I'm a sanitized trans woman. Brianna latched on to sex pestiny, so I'm not surprised to hear her interact like he does too. Yeah. Man. But she's like, you know, she attacked her saying, why don't you stick to autistically oversharing about your freaky sex life? And then here's Zinnia saying like, I'm literally diagnosed with autistic savant syndrome. So literally everything I do is like autistically whatever. So Brianna just, you know, also Brianna says, I don't want anything to do with you. And like, by the way, you literally follow me though. You follow me though. So yeah, of course, Brianna ended up blocking Zinnia, but isn't that embarrassing? Being like, I don't want anything to do with you. Literally, you follow me on Twitter. So what are you trying to say? Yeah, I am what you people call a normal. I am a normal. But yeah, she then doubles down publicly and is like, I want to give normal, non-degenerate trans women a voice. If you're a weird sex freak claiming to be a trans woman who announces your freaky sex life constantly on social media and you come after me, I will not pull punches by ad homing you. This is ad hominem, by the way. When you say like you're a freaky sex weirdo and therefore none of your political opinions are valid, that's an ad hominem. That's like, because you have a trait that I don't like, therefore none of your arguments are valid. And again, like it's been years. Like genuinely, I feel like Zinnia Jones has been transitioning, like not just like, oh, I identify as trans, but I haven't taken medicine or whatever. She's been transitioning for like at least as long as Brianna Wu, or like for more than 10 years. So like, how are you a sex freak claiming to be a trans woman when you're like, I'm out here living the life of a trans woman every day in the state of fucking Florida? Like, because that's where Zinnia lives. Yeah, Be Normal says the most abnormally caustic antisocial person you know. It's just wild. And then, of course, yeah, Brianna finally blocks Zinnia. And then Zinnia continues on this thread talking about something else. But like, man, I'm fairly vanilla, but I'd stand with the freaky sex weirdos any day of the week. It's better than being a pick-me. Right. Again, it's like, who is this for? Who are you doing this for? What is this performance for? Do you really think that anybody is going to give a shit that you are knocking other trans women down? Like, Brianna, okay, this is rude. I'm about to say something rude, and I'm going to acknowledge it before I say it. Brianna is not pretty enough to think that she can be a pick-me. She's ugly. Like, you can't, if you're a trans woman who's like trying to attain a sense of normalcy, you have to at least be pretty. Like, they give Blair some amount of respect because she's hot. But if you're ugly, like, you're trying too hard. I guess maybe that's why she's trying so hard, is because she knows that she is not going, like, people were speculating about whether Brianna was trans back during Gamergate because she's visibly trans. You know, like, I don't know, like, what she thinks she's accomplishing here. Also, it's boring as fuck to be like, not only are you not sexually adventurous, but you're like a hater on people who are sexually liberated. Like, girl, calm down. I'm not even that like sexually adventurous, but I'm not like a fucking killjoy. I'm not out here saying like, oh, I find that gross, so you're gross. Like, I don't know. Hi, Baphomet. Slept through it. No. I'm so itchy. I need to wash my hair. Yesterday was washing hair day. And I just didn't do it. My scalp is itchy. Oh, no. Of course, Blair isn't my type. I don't like Barbies. You know, it's fine for women who want to do that. It's just not really for me. Oh, Baphomet, you joined in on us complaining about Brianna Wu. Someone brought it up while I was doing my main politics segment, and I was like, let's talk about that after the main politics segment. Talking about Brianna Wu. Everyone loves live and let live until they have to let that person live. Fucking true. Yeah, ICE is our unleashed Gestapo, disappearing people, and the dumbest motherfuckers you know are like, heh, too bad the left went too far. Yeah, I think we basically all universally hate Brianna Wu. I blocked her on Blue Sky and have never looked back. That's the thing about blocking on Blue Sky, though, is like, I don't think that there is a list anywhere of like people I have blocked that I could go back and maybe unblock them. I think that it's just like a permanent black hole that you disappear into. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there any way to like find an account that you've blocked without like if I forget their at? Like I considered blocking someone this week who might be going through a kind of deconversion from a cult that we have talked about before. And I was like, well, if I block this person, maybe I will forget about them forever. And that might not be good if they are on the way to becoming a better person. I don't know. You can check. Okay, cool. I just don't know where it is. Oh, you have to use Clear Sky for me to see who I have blocked. I knew that Clear Sky could show me if I was blocked or if I was on a list. We could do with more antisocial behavior shaming as a society and online, TBH. Oh, I agree, Byron. Like, I think that people should have an immediate repercussion for being antisocial. Like, that's why we celebrate Bill Keating and his calling out of Keith's self. Because it's like, yeah, we shouldn't just stand for open disrespect. Oh, cool. On Clear Sky, you can see both who you've blocked and who has blocked you. Okay, cool. I'll check that later. Or at least it's good to know. Like, if I block people, it's not like forever gone. I can use Clear Sky and check. Excuse me. Excuse me again. Yikes. Yep. Like, when did we just start tolerating people being fucking rude, you know? I guess to be fair, like, in the United States, if someone is being brazenly rude, I guess I can kind of see there being a hesitance to call that out directly if you're just a regular person in regular society, because if a person is being overtly rude, they might also have a gun that they're willing to use. So, like, calling out someone who's being rude is an escalation. People who do rude shit expect not to be pushed back against. And if you push back against them, then they will, of course, perceive that as a threat and an escalation, and then they will escalate. But man, that's just an argument for more people to carry guns. Like, well, the assholes can't be the assholes and, like, unquestionable assholes and unquestionable because they have all the gun power. That's not reasonable. We can't maintain that system. The anti-asshole brigade has to also be armed. I should figure out if it's, like, legal for me to carry my knife around and then just have my knife everywhere, because I don't have my concealed carry permit. I would need to, like, do a whole class here to get a concealed carry permit, and I would need to practice more, and I need to fucking buy a membership to a gun range to even stay in good practice with my gun. Yeah, Luxander says, an armed society is a polite society. I mean, like, honestly, the image of decorum in the United States is established by the founding fathers, who would fucking kill each other in duels if somebody crossed them sideways. Like, if somebody came at them sideways and said some weird shit to them. Like, the whole concept of decorum as we have established it is based on a system that allowed for a legal duel. They had to be made illegal, you know? Like, catching these hands is like a threat that protects people from fucking being annoying, you know? Go upside thou's head. True. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. An equally armed society is more polite than an unequally armed one. Like, in a society where you don't have guns, you have plenty of fistfights. I'm sure that there's still plenty of fistfights that get broken up at the pub in Britain, even though they have no guns. Like, so if everybody's equally armed, you know that you can get punched out, and maybe you carry a knife or something, but it's not like you can just pull out a gun. I love reminding people that I grew up in Arizona, where there are enough guns to arm every American. Yeah, that's fun. I'm really looking forward to getting my gun back in... Well, I mean, I guess I can get my gun back in working order anytime. I just need to clean it. But to getting back in practice with my gun, because, like, it just costs money. It's expensive to, like, even... Like, okay, I have ammo, but you have to pay money to then go to a shooting range. Like, this is why I want to own land. I just want to have an area on my land where I have like a little hill that I shoot at. Knives are illegal too. I thought that it was like below a certain length or something. Can you really not carry a pocket knife in the UK? I can't have a pocket knife that I use to open open boxes and stuff. I need to figure out where my pocket knife is. I'm not sure where my pocket knife is. I moved, and I know that it was in a box of stuff that went in my bedroom, but I don't know where it is now. Like, I need my Kershaw back. Do you need to sound the shaft, or is it not that type of gun? I mean, not as part of the normal operation of the gun, but yeah, the barrel needs to be cleaned sometimes. What's up, Dank Cat Lord? Most knives are banned here. That's fucking stupid, man. I would be mad. I would be mad about that. If you're carrying it to the pub, you're not going to be able to argue to the police that you... Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not bitching at you in a box. I think your country is just stupid. I carry a pocket knife everywhere I go because it's a tool that I might need. Like, people in my family carry a pocket knife and they end up using their own pocket knife at the steak restaurant because the steak knives are not sharp enough. Like, it might just be, again, another, like, cultural thing where, like, as an American who's from the Midwest, which has a lot of influence from the South, meaning we're very practical about owning tools, but it's the same kind of thing where it's like we just have guns. Like, it's just normal to have guns and it's fine. Like, for the most part, you know? It's like, I'm used to carrying a knife and it's basically fine. As long as it's not, like, over a certain length or whatever. Like, yeah, I just carry a pocket knife because it's good to have around. Like, oh, maybe I need to, like, get a splinter out of my hand really quick. Or maybe I need to get something out from under my nails. Or I gotta cut open a box. Or maybe there's a loose thread on my clothes and I want to cut it off. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. The demonization of what is a tool. Eric says where he lives, any knife is an illegal weapon to carry, and anything can be legally declared a weapon if you intend to harm someone with it. Sure. So, like, those little kitty-shaped, like, aluminum things that you're supposed to, like, girls carry on their, you know, even though it's just a cute little kitty keychain, if they use it in self-defense, suddenly it's a weapon. Anyway, shit's crazy. Is there anything we should touch on since we are getting toward the end of the show? Is there anything we need? I didn't have anything else planned, of course. I was kind of thinking when we got done with the regular news, we would just kind of shoot the shit for a while. Man, it's like my Kershaw, it's like a 3-inch blade. It's so small. Self-defense keychains, I think, are a federal offense. Wow, what? Dude. And I know that y'all are, like, also not allowed to carry, like, pepper spray. Man, that's so fucking annoying. Kitty says we could use our creek bend as a shooting spot if we wanted. It's very interesting in its shape because you can see that previous tsunami have helped shape that hillside. It looks like a giant gun took a shot where the water decided to just shoot up the hill. The low patch on a creek next to us actually helps me feel safer in a tsunami because most force will be directed to the side of us. Yeah. I would be worried about shooting into a creek side because I would be like, I don't necessarily want to go pick up my bullets every single time. And I wouldn't want to put lead in a water source. Not having a pocket knife makes me feel naked as fuck. I know, that's how I'm like, where is it? I don't remember what I did with it. I I ended up consolidating 3 Doom boxes into one big Doom box, and I need to start picking through it. I don't think my knife is in there, because if I had seen my knife, I wouldn't have put it in that box. I would have kept it out. So I still have like a box of stuff that was on my bedside table, and I don't know where it is. Dude, moving fucking 2,000 miles across the country is a doozy. I'm sure that there's going to be stuff for 3 years where I'm like, where is that? I still don't know where stuff is. Oh, we're so close to 100 likes. Can we get to 100 likes, do you think, before the end of the show? Just 5 more. Just 5 more. Even in the US, treating pepper spray the same as knives is so dumb. Like, sure, it's a weapon, but it's explicitly designed for de-escalation. People should be encouraged to carry pepper spray. Yeah, is it? I already checked my state law. It is legal for me to carry pepper spray. I just can only discharge it in a case where I'm using it for self-defense. I have to keep telling the baby, who has not learned how to walk yet, to please stop climbing up things. Baby wants to be mobile. Baby has places to go, okay? You're trying to hold baby back. Eric elaborates, if someone hits you, swinging your purse is using greater force. Since it is a weaponized object now, you can no longer claim self-defense and will be given mutual charges. Fucking Christ, dude. And these people in charge of your government are probably also the same kind of people who say, like, women are naturally inferior to men. They're never able to compete against men as far as how strong they are. So it's like, okay, you expect females, you who have the same belief that females are inherently physically weaker permanently, like across the board, no exceptions, are also going to say that if a female uses her purse, now she is using a weapon, as opposed to like, maybe that evened things out a little bit. And I'm not saying that I believe that women are inherently inferior. I'm saying that that is obviously the position of the kind of government who enforces bullshit like this. But yeah, I mean, pepper spray. There was a woman in, what was it, California? A trans woman in California who was recently arrested for using pepper spray to defend herself, and she's being charged as though she was the aggressor. That's the thing that, like, scares me a little bit now about using pepper spray as part of self-defense, is because it is intended to be used farther away. Then there could be an argument that you started it or something, or that you did the aggressive, whatever. Man. Ooh, I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to be ready to wrap up here in a second because I'm getting hungry. I don't think I ate this morning. I think I had my chicken broth, but then I didn't eat. I'm fine, but I just forget sometimes to eat until the afternoon. Oh, this is kind of funny.
Turned out.
Hold on, shut up. I don't want to hear the volume. Somebody put up a Wile E. Coyote wall in the middle of a road to see if the Tesla would see it. Let's look. So they literally painted the wall to look like the vista behind it, and the Tesla just plowed through it at full speed. And they put a little mannequin of a person behind it. But like, look at that Wile E. Coyote ass. They just straight up painted the background. That's funny. It's very funny. Mark Rober. Oh, was it Mark Rober? Fuck him. What a fucking weird Mormon cunt. Weird fucking psycho bullshit. Whatever. I'm just going to start being real fucking mean about Mormons, I think. Turns out I'm actually going to be hateful as fuck toward Mormons. That's what I've decided. I didn't know that was Mark Rober. I'm gonna be fucked up to Mormons, I've decided. I think they deserve it, though. As an ex-Mormon, deserved. Thank you. Thank you for absolving me of my Mormon hate. Even Ken Jennings, I don't know who that is, but if he's a Mormon, then fuck him. I'm gonna say some hateful ass shit about Mormons. Mormon family vlogging needs to stop. Dude, I kind of fundamentally think that family vlogging, I don't know that I want to say that it is outright abusive, but it is definitely like on a slippery slope to abusive. Did I see the Lorentz plasma cannon? I don't think so. Or are you talking about the Italians figured out how to freeze light thing that I saw in the science coverage this week? Or is that something else? Oh no, this is something else. The Lorentz plasma cannon. Dude hooked up 240 kilovolts of capacitors to a lightning cannon. Holy shit. Moshe says, I think that family vlogging is abusive, full stop. I just have no good argument for it. Yeah, it's like, there's a fine line though, right? It's like, if you're recording videos to send to your family, then is that abusive? Or like, is it only abusive when the content becomes monetized? There are people who will say that YouTube is just a social media platform, that posting videos to YouTube is functionally the same as posting videos for your TikTok that your friends and family follow, or to your Facebook where your friends and family are. Like, because I mean, it is like, I guess, a type of social media. So it's like, yeah, at what point does it become abusive? Is it just because it can't be monetized? There are people who won't monetize the content, but will sell merch and stuff. Like, when does it become abusive to like film your children? I don't know. I think Mark Rober is way too smart to actually believe in the Mormon religion, which means he just likes the power position he's given over people in that context. I don't know, man. YouTube is not a social media platform. Why not, though? I mean, I was challenged on this very recently. Like, what differentiates YouTube from TikTok? Do you think TikTok is not a social media platform? What about Instagram, where you can post videos? Like, why is YouTube different? You post a video, and an algorithm is involved, and the algorithm is involved in Instagram and TikTok as well. People comment on stuff. People form parasocial relationships. Yeah, of course, there are insanely smart people who are genuine believers. They just tend to reserve their critical thinking skills. They just deliberately don't apply their critical thinking skills to their faith. I remember Dustin Sandlin saying that explicitly. I agree with you generally, Moshe. Yeah, Moshe says, personally, I won't be posting any photos or videos of my kid because they haven't consented to putting them on the internet, and I want them to have that choice. That is a personal choice, but monetizing is definitely past that line. Yeah, I don't disagree. If you do it privately, if you post pictures just to your friends on Facebook and you keep them private, I feel like that's okay, but you're also like gonna deal with like who owns that image, and like, are you posting embarrassing things about the kid who might not want people outside the family to know, you know? Looks at altar. I still don't have my altar set up. My office, there's still like some stuff that I haven't quite figured out what to do with. So my altar currently is covered in the pile of vines that I still haven't put up yet. You're not posting to a close network of linked known people. You just post to the public. But how is that different from TikTok? Do you think TikTok is not social media? Or what about Instagram? Like Instagram, like I have family members who do post their kids to Instagram, and the intention is for it to be just to their close friends, but that stuff just exists in public unless you lock your account. So is Instagram social media or not? Like, I don't know how we can draw a distinction between YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, like, because all of those platforms have a thing where, like, your shit goes out to the public unless you specifically lock it to friends only. And I don't even know if that's an option on TikTok. So... Either way, we're all fodder for Sam Altman's Torment Nexus. True. TikTok uses your contact list to connect you to known people and shows you content from folks nearby. It's actually social. Like, okay, just because part of the platform encourages you to connect with people locally doesn't mean that its primary purpose is to feed you garbage from everywhere so long as it keeps you on the platform. Like, all of these platforms use a social element to generate engagement. That's what social media is. Like, social media is, and people do post personal private vlogs on YouTube, like, that only get 10 views because they're posting it to, or they post a picture of their kid on YouTube to then send to someone because that's the platform to post it on. Like, people do use YouTube for personal social interaction. Like, if YouTube suddenly created a tool that was connecting you locally, is that the only thing that makes it social media? Like, I'm sorry, I think that you fundamentally don't know what social media is if you insist that it must necessarily include connecting you with people nearby. Like, and for that matter, YouTube has started suggesting things to me that are specific to the Pacific Northwest. So it is trying to connect me to things that are local to my community. I mean, if you think that YouTube is not a tool for connecting socially just because it doesn't deliberately try to connect you to people in your immediate area, I think that you don't watch very much YouTube. Like, do you think that what we are doing now is not social? It's kind of parasocial, but it is social media. Like, we have a connection. We have a relationship. People view YouTube creators as like an extension of their friend group. And the two-way interaction does feed that. Like, it is like an inherently social platform. Just because I'm being connected to people not local to me doesn't make it not a social media. I don't know. But whoever said it in chat a minute ago is correct. If you try, you're going to try to come up with a definition and it's not going to include everything you mean to include and exclude everything you mean to exclude. And I also felt resistant initially to the idea that YouTube is social media, but then it's like, it is. That's fundamentally, it's about making connections. It's about selling a product by making a personal connection. That's what this is. Yeah, it's not just the creator. It's a community thing too. Yeah, like we have created a social community, and every successful creator has that. Like every successful creator has a community that can exist separately from them. Speaking of which, you should join the Discord if you're not already. Yeah, what is define fish, define vegetable. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. I get like hiccupy for 10 seconds and then it goes away. Okay, I don't think I have anything else for today. I think we're pretty much wrapped up for today. And I think I'm ready to have some lunch and spend the rest of my evening coloring in my coloring book and playing with watercolors. Ooh, hold on. Wait. What should I paint? If I do a couple watercolor paintings where I do the whole page, what should I paint? I'm working with like a normal printer paper size. What should I paint? I want to get some recommendations from you, and then I'll post it later or something on fucking Patreon or something. I don't know. But like, what should I paint? I painted a tiny little sunset. I painted a tiny little galaxy. What should I do? Paint my cat? My cat is a black cat. You want me to paint a watercolor of my black cat? Tranarchy logo? I guess I could do that. Paint a dragon? Yeah, thanks. Let me just go from like barely able to paint circles to painting a dragon. I'll do that. A can of beans? That would honestly be more doable. Dragon erotic art. Y'all want me to sit here and draw dragon dicks? Dragons are fun in watercolor. Yeah. I might have to look up like basic watercolor starter paintings. Like what do you start with? Mountains, simple vistas. Flowers. A dragon eye. Okay. Yeah, a hyper-realistic dragon cock. That's what we want. You people are ridiculous. Paint me like one of your French dragons. True. We did not manage to get to 100 likes on the show today, but that's okay. We're wrapping up, and maybe we'll hit it next time. Yeah, spend dozens of hours on each cock. True. A dragon claw. Okay. Anyway, I'll take some of those ideas into consideration. I'm not drawing dragon cock. You're fucking out of your mind. Anyway, all right. Love y'all. Don't forget Wednesday show. We are not talking about politics. I mean, I'm sure that it will come up, but we're intending to have a chill time on our next stream and not doing like a whole fucking week's worth of politics. So join us next time if you want to chill and hang out and play games. And that's the schedule now. And we're going to post that video. You know, pay attention in the Discord if you want to help boost the content. Even if you were here during the stream, it will still be helpful if you share the video when I upload it, probably Tuesday morning. So again, thank you everybody.